Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and welcome to what will be the final chapter of our Life and Suffering of Sir Brante playthrough, Take Dos. As always, I'm your homie Davvon. Before we get started in the game though, I want to apologize to you guys for not going live with the game today like I had said I was going to. The more I thought about it, I figured it was probably a better idea just to record it, since a lot of people are probably just listening to this similar to an audiobook or in the background of doing something else. I figured them listening to me talk to a chat is probably not the most entertaining thing in the world. So I'm gonna go ahead and just record it, and then I will release it to you guys again. I apologize for that. Having said that, with that out of the way, let's play! Peacetime, 25 years of age. I do feel really bad that I said that and that I didn't go live, but I think this is the wise decision here. Wait. We've already done this. Why does it keep rewinding me? All right, so we've already done this. This is where we defeated Sir Dude Guy and the Duel Guy, which they took away 1 justice point, 1 wealth, and they took my sword away for a week, but we are invincible now. And then this is where we should be. We should be in the correct spot now. Year 1144, 26 years of age. Will we survive through peacetime? If you listen to the last chapter of our playthrough, the last portion of our playthrough, you will know that we are on our last life. And it's not looking very promising for us to survive. Year 1144, the Archduke relents. After many years, the simmering, unceasing hostilities between Overseer Gaius Tempest and Archduke Melanidas have finally come to an end. The Archduke has abandoned all attempts to collect additional taxes from the people. Archduke Melanidas, by my grace, I hereby release the common people of Magra from the Archduke's tax. All hail the dynasty of Melanidas, which has protected you since the time immemorial? Since time immemorial. The farmers and merchants can finally heave a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, the Archduke soon withdrew from all provincial affairs, sequestering himself in his ancestral castle of Serpentverda. The gentry who remain loyal to the Archduke are baffled. Has he accepted defeat at the hands of the Overseer, or is this just an elaborate ruse? Either way, with the Archduke out of the picture, the senior gentry of Magra have lost some of their influence to the Overseer and his retinue of budding dynasties and nobles of the mantle. The feud between the two Arcanian rulers has ended, but the noble estate has been split nonetheless. The common people see this as yet another reason to demand change. Wealth of Magra, +1, power +1, woohoo! Woohoo! 7th year of service. Another year of service as the judge is behind you. We have no time to celebrate. Your days are filled with unremarkable litigation and similar looking complaints. Again and again, you see poorly written complaints form. They claim that noble landowners are extorting money, punishing commoners for nothing, doing whatever they please. You have noticed a change in tone, from pleading to desperate to quietly furious. The lowborn lot is to suffer, but how much longer can they endure? Every day, once the petty litigation has been dealt with, you return to Otten's case. Again and again, for 2 years now, you search for a way to do the unthinkable. To have an Arcanian, and the High Commander at that, convicted for his crimes. You have not heard from Otten since your encounter at the City Hall, but he likely has spies among the judges and the guards. Sooner or later, he will realize the true state of your progress and find a way to get rid of this case. And you. Unless you are prepared to strike the final blow. But what should you do? Will you speak against Otten in public and summon him to a trial? Is there any other way to deal with the High Commander? Either way, now is not the time, and so you wait and prepare. Justice for all. As you approach the steps of the prefecture today, a line of Legion soldiers wearing red cloaks bar your path. They are the personal guard of the provincial overseer. As Gaius Tempest graced you with his august presence, you enter only after presenting your judge's signet to the guards. The common room of the prefecture is remarkably quiet and deserted. All petitioners have been chased away. The judges and guards do not dare to leave their offices. Everyone is afraid to breathe. The overseer, the Emperor's own brother, has arrived completely unexpected. The guards standing watch say you are expected at the prefect's office. You are escorted upstairs. Elborn is visibly anxious. The honored guest is there, reclining in the prefect's comfortable chair, his crimson, fur-trimmed cloak cast over his back. His overseer Gaius Tempest himself. You bow deeply to the overseer. He acknowledges your presence with a quick nod and turns back to Elborn. Gaius Tempest. Well done, Elborn. I am positively incensed to see what has become of the city under your care. I put you in this seat to instill order under imperial law, but you have given the commoners too many freedoms. And now they revolt against their lot in the Emperor's rule, plotting, forming secret societies. And now an explosion in Manazon, an attempt on the magistrate's life. Everyone in the city is talking about some group called the Last Straw. This is unthinkable. Elborn accepts the blame without any sign of emotion, but you notice the muscles twitch behind the wrinkles on his face. Gaius Tempest. I have ordered the secret chancellery to deal with this Last Straw, but their leader, a low-born woman named Sophia, is still at large. Last night I ordered a Legion squad to set a trap for this Sophia. We almost had her, but then an Arcane appeared and attacked the soldiers. Elborn glances at you, confused, an unspoken question in his eyes. Did you hear that, Brante? Augustine Elborn. An Arcane defending a low-born woman? But how? Gaius Tempest. Indeed, Prefect. One Anthony Fess, a young Arcane of little note. It seems he now values low-born insurgents more than his high birth, his honor, and his loyalty to the Imperial dynasty. Baron Alfaro of the Secret Chancellery has been tracking him for quite some time. Young man began mingling with revolutionary rabble and has since lost his mind. Now he swings his sword about in defense of the rights of the common folk. Let us leave the insurgents to the Secret Chancellery. That is their duty. What concerns me, however, is Anthony Fess. My legionnaires were nipping at the insurgents' heels, and then this Arcane appeared and murdered 5 soldiers. Those poor souls were utterly flummoxed, unsure whether to fight back or humbly accept their death at the hands of an Arcane. Augustine Elborn. The mind boggles, Your Eminence. An Arcane has broken the law for the sake of the common estate? May I assume Your Eminence has a plan for this Sir Fess? Gaius Tempest. Would that I had been a semblance of a plan. What a sordid predicament. Anthony Fess is a traitor who has committed a great offense against the crown. Yet he is an Arcane. I shudder to think what might happen were he to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. This has never happened in all the province's history. The Arcane dynasties will not tolerate it. And Archduke Melanidas will be swift to take advantage of the situation and undermine my authority in the province. Augustine Elborn. Your Eminence, the law of the Empire is the same for all its subjects. Perhaps it would be better to have its power demonstrated once and for all. Sir Fess challenged more than the soldiers of the Legion. He challenged the rule of the Emperor himself. Gaius Tempest. Elborn, what did I just tell you? Prosecuting an Arcane would represent an even greater threat to my authority. Find another way. This Fess is young and hot-tempered, so push him to the breaking point in the courtroom. Get him to draw his sword. Let everyone see him for the dangerous traitor he is. Even for an Arcane, this would be an unforgivable transgression. Not even the Archduke would dispute a verdict against him. Gaius Tempest's gaze focuses on you. You do your best to show no emotion and remain as invisible as possible until the Overseer seeks you permission to speak. Gaius Tempest. Judge Brante, you are here for a reason. You will handle the prosecution. I'd rather have Sir Prefect deal with this mess of a case himself, but he is too powerful to risk if it fails. Rest assured, many nobles and Arcanes will demand you set him free no matter how much evidence you have against him. The traitor Fess must be punished, but I ask you to ensure that my reputation remains untarnished. I have no intentions of going down in history as the Overseer who allowed our inviolable Arcane rights to be compromised. That would be crossing the line. Prepare your case. Gaius Tempest rises from his seat in the blink of an eye and walks out, escorted by his guards. For a few seconds, utter silence fills the Prefect's office. Then, at last, Elborn feels he no longer has to restrain himself. Augustine Elborn. He blames me for what's going on? Me? His most loyal human? No, I will do everything I can to have that criminal punished. You realize how much it will advance our cause if we can get that Archean condemned in a court of law? This is the only way we can instill the rule of the law in these lands, Brant. The Overseer insists that the trial be scheduled for tomorrow. Anthony Fess has been located. He was found and surrounded by guards on the street. However, he did not resist and gave his word of honor to stand trial. You barely have time to prepare the charges before entering the courtroom. The normally half-empty seats in the courtroom are crowded today. The highest ranks of the aristocracy and the most noble families and dynasties all focus their gaze on you as you step inside. In the depths of the courtroom, you notice Octavia Melanides surrounded by her retinue of young ladies. The Archduke's daughter watches the trial unfold with a wry, indifferent smile. You ascend the podium. Prefect Elborn himself presides over the board of judges. The courtroom doors swing open, and the defendant Anthony Fess enters, escorted by guards. The young Archnean has dressed in a defiant, modest garb for his status. No embellishments, no jewelry, just a simple linen undershirt. However, he still carries a sword, as expected from a high-born noble. You read the charges as the procedure demands. Sir Anthony Fess willfully caused the lesser death of 5 soldiers of the Legion, thereby allowing a number of the last straw insurgents to escape punishment. Murmuring fills the courtroom. The Archnean's large, dark eyes watch you closely, catching every motion in the hall. Then suddenly, Anthony Fess interrupts you to speak for himself. Anthony Fess. People of Manazon, I was not brought here by force today. I broke the law, and I am ready and willing to be held accountable before all of you. I fought those Legion soldiers, and I killed him. Did I violate Imperial law? Why, yes, I did. Yet does anyone even bother to count the transgressions committed by our rulers on a daily basis? Why does this law exist if no one follows it? I do not accept a law that offers no salvation from eternal tyranny for the common estate. By my birth, I was given the power to rule over humans, but if suffering is all that rule brings, then I reject it. I am ready and willing to sacrifice my very life for the sake of justice so that all citizens of the Empire will begin to respect the law. The young Archnean's words, loud and desperately audacious, spark turmoil in the courtroom. The stunned board of judges is at a loss for words. The guards freeze in confusion, and the nobles are terrified. You hear their screams. Madman, pull yourself together! You're no commoner, you're an Archnean! The courtroom is on the verge of exploding. Tension. The guards try in vain to placate the audience. The board of judges looks to you. As the prosecutor, you must continue reading the charges against the defendant. The fate of the rebellious Archnean is in your hands, but do you have what it takes to make the most of this situation? What is this gonna do for me? I guess we're gonna drop all the charges because I have no other options. You loudly call for attention. Some time passes before you restore order in the courtroom and continue your opening remarks, albeit with a sudden and unexpected twist. There has been a misunderstanding, you say. Indeed, Sir Anthony Fess engaged in combat with Legion soldiers, but only because their brazen behavior left him no choice but to defend his honor. Naturally, you say, the insurgents were not involved in any way. There can be no doubt that no Archnean of noble birth would ever defy the sacred rule of the Empire. Emperor, surely the honorable board of judges would agree? The nobles in the courtroom, left stunned and speechless by the young Archnean's words a moment ago, seem to awaken from their daze. They applaud you. Hear, hear, they cry. Hands off the Archneans! Only Octavia Melanides remains silent in the back row, her face contorted in a disdainful smirk. Anthony Fess looks around the courtroom dumbfounded. He tries to speak again, but you cut him off before he can even begin. You continue your speech. This young Archnean noble has allowed his roiling ancient blood and desire for greatness to speak louder than reason. We should not misinterpret his youthful fervor as treason. Anthony Fess is clearly innocent and must be freed at once. Your speech concluded, you catch your breath, but when you look up, your eyes meet Elborn's heavy, scornful gaze, devoid of all respect. The prefect sighs, painfully, grievously, and reaches for... I had no choice. I have spent so much time doing everything I can, costing 3 lives, trying to get the nobles and the Archneans and all of them under control, and I still can't make the decision to put an Archnean behind bars. Augustine Alborn. Due to the absence of any charges, the court has no choice but to find Sir Anthony Fess not guilty. You are free to go, but remember, the laws of the Empire represent the will of our Emperor and the twins themselves. I had no choice. The aristocracy applauds this just verdict from the stalls. The guards hurry the rebellious Archnean out of the courtroom before he can utter another word. The prefect walks down from the podium, his eyes trained on you, full of chagrin. Augustine Alborn. Not only have you let me down, Brante, you've also shown everyone that Archneans are above the law even if they commit crimes out in the open. I had hoped this outrageous call for rebellion would finally force an Archnean to face justice, yet the aristocracy would rather tolerate a singular madman's revolt than risk their immunity from the legal process. Fortunately for you, the prefect is quickly surrounded by nobles. Excited by the case of Anthony Fess, they have questions that demand answers. You slip out of the courtroom, only to run into a crowd of commoners. But to your surprise, they shower you with adoring cries. All hail Judge Brante, they shout. He saved good Sir Fess. The news that you have rescued the sole Archnean fighting for the Lowborn is quick to spread across all of Manazon. A letter arrives almost immediately after trial, bearing the Overseer's seal. Gaius Tempest makes no attempt to conceal his anger. Gaius Tempest. Entrusting this case to you was a mistake, Judge. You failed to resolve it in a worthy fashion. Anthony Fess is now at large, free to rouse the people to revolt as he pleases. But do not blame yourself. It is my own fault for assigning a delicate matter of such importance to a man who was but recently a commoner. You let out a heavy sigh. It seems everyone in Magra has their own reason to condemn your decision. Career is in ruins. Justice. What the hell am I supposed to do here? It's like everything that I have worked for to this point. They decided they're going to throw obstacles at me that give me the big old bird and force me to not be able to get the result that I want. Protector of the people. Protect the common folk. Let's see what happens. Deathbed. Deafening silence fills your home. You are standing by Mother's bedside. So are Father, Gloria, and Nathan. For an entire day, Mother has been feverish, barely conscious. Gloria never leaves her side, not even for a minute. Nathan has even stopped drinking so he can offer her sister his awkward help. Mother's health has deteriorated greatly over the past year, and the fighting in the family home has dealt a great blow to her. She has been bedridden for a month. You have been to every doctor and folk healer, but no one can help her. They all tell you the same thing. Lady Lydia's life is in the hands of the twins now. If she passes away, she will not come back. And so you wait by Mother's bed in sorrow, hoping that she will regain consciousness. There is a long silence that no one has the courage to break. Then at last, you hear Nathan's meek voice. Nathan Brante. Mother, it's me, Nathan. Can you hear me? Mother suddenly rises on her elbows. She looks around, her eyes unseeing, beads of sweat forming on her pale forehead. Lydia Brante. My son, where are you? Nathan takes Mother by her thin, emaciated hand. He leans closer to him, struggling to recognize his face. Lydia Brante. Stefan, were you playing with your younger brothers in the garden? You must be all dirty. Come here. You may not be my son, but I care for you as though you were my own. Oh, what a nice, happy family we have. A blessing from the twins. Nathan is unsure what to do or say. Father strokes his wife's hair. His eyes are two orbs of searing, indescribable pain. Robert Brante. You're a little confused, Lydia. This is Nathan, and the children are all grown up now. Remember? Mother's eyes were bright and alive just now, but the next moment they grow dim again. Her head falls weakly back onto the pillow. Lydia Brante. You're right, my husband. The children grew up, but I was never able to teach them how to live in peace with each other. I let you down, Robert. You made a mistake when you took me into your home. You saved my daughter and me from the life of poverty, and how did I repay you? Gloria cannot take it anymore. Gloria. What are you saying, Mother? Don't you dare blame yourself. You did your best. You did all that you could. Father looks away, unable to hold back the deluge of tears. Mother's voice, so faint now, calls out to you. Brant. Davvon Jr., where is he? With great care, you move closer to Mother. You answer her quietly. You're here, right by her side. Lydia Brant. Davvon Jr., I'm so happy to know you're here. I always knew greatness awaited you, ever since you were a little boy. What a shame I won't be there to see it. I couldn't save the Brante family. I will face my punishment at my final judgment. But don't worry, my dears. I am ready to stand before the twins. Lydia Brant's voice trails off. No longer a voice, just a final whisper of life. Will you accept your mother's death? Or will you find a way to fight for her life? Share your strength with Mother? Unite the family. We are going to unite the family. For the sake of Mother's recovery, you put an end to the quarrel that is tearing your family apart. You have to make Gloria a part of the Brante house. Yes! Something finally going right. You refuse to accept this. Mother must not die. The Brante family must not fall apart. For years and years, you have fought tooth and nail to keep this family united. Working hard to resolve every quarrel, you never conspired against Stefan, and you never stabbed Gloria in the back. Now it is time to take family matters in your own hands. This family strife must end. You lean down to Mother's ears and whisper, No, Mother has not failed anyone. She has always given her all to this family. She taught you well, and she took good care of you. She has nothing whatsoever to blame herself for. Your family is torn apart by quarrels, but you are still a family because of Mother. She has no right to abandon you in this dark hour. With a great effort, Mother lifts her head slightly. She looks over the faces of her family huddled around her bed. Gloria with her arms folded on her chest in an unspoken prayer. Nathan pressing himself timidly against his sister. A faint, humble glimmer of hope appears in Mother's eyes. Lydia Brant. We are still a family. You stroke Mother's hair gently. Yes. Yes, we are. We are all Brants. We are a family. As long as we remember that we are one, we will weather any storm and overcome any strife. Times are changing, and the family must face these changes, but was it not Mother who taught us to face life with humility? Suddenly, there is a flurry of footsteps outside the door. To everyone's surprise, Stefan runs into Mother's bedroom, flustered. He has been gone for so long. Frightened, Gloria leaps from her seat and stands between him and Mother, but Stefan ignores her and walks straight to the bed. Stefan Brant. Lydia, how are you? I hurried back home as soon as I could. Your words and Stefan's sudden show of concern transform Mother, bringing her back to life before your very eyes. She sits up in bed. The color returns to her pallid cheeks. Gloria Brant. Mother, you're not leaving us. Brother, your words are better than any medicine. Robert Brant. Lydia. Lydia Brant. Davvon Jr. is right. I simply cannot abandon you like this. The twins only know what you'll get up to without me around. You look back at your flustered family and address them fervently from the bottom of your heart. We nearly brought a terrible woe upon ourselves, you tell them. This is all the result of your strife, distrust, and animosity. You stare first at Stefan, then at Gloria. They both remain silent, burning with shame. You say that this cannot continue. It is time for them to wise up and stop scheming against one another. Gloria Brant. Think I wouldn't love to live in a calm, peaceful home? I'm just defending myself against Stefan's attempts to drive me out. He's the one who's obsessed with our family's reputation. Well, it's kind of in the dumps anyway. Agitated, Stefan interrupts her. Stefan Brant. All I'm trying to do is build a life for you. We can't legally accept you into our family just like that, don't you understand? Oh, excuse me. The Brante family has to be ennobled by the sword. There's nothing more important than that. But then Stefan glances at Mother, who returned from the brink a mere moment ago, and his voice trails off. You ask your brother sternly, has he considered the price our family must pay to be ennobled by the sword? Is Stefan ready to sacrifice the family just to have it ennobled? Stefan Brant. Brother, we're just a step away from fulfilling our grandfather's greatest mission. Now you want me to reject it? You reply to your brother calmly. It is time for us all to decide what is most important. Our family's standing or our happiness? Stefan grows quiet as he ponders your words, but father suddenly interjects. Robert Brant. And we will choose happiness, Stefan. And I am the Brant patriarch. I bear the responsibility for our family. And if the road to the sword will cost our family this much, then we remain as we are. Stefan is silent. His throat twitches now and then, as though he is trying to swallow something. Gloria and Nathan watch him, both hopeful. Your brother stands up and starts pacing around the room. His face convulses. He is on the verge of tears. Stefan Brant. Father, Davvon Jr., I agree. I need to acknowledge that I failed to fulfill grandfather's mission. Well, so be it. Perhaps future generations of Brants will be ennobled by the sword. For right now, our duty is to preserve this family. Gloria, for the sake of our entire family, you must become a Brant once and for all. Gloria's mouth is agape. She cannot believe her ears. You reach over and give her the smallest push. Ever so slowly, she walks towards Stefan and bows. Gloria Brant. Stefan, I never dreamed you'd. I'll never forget this. Father opens his arms wide for Gloria. Robert Brant. Dishonor does not frighten me. Gossip does not frighten me. Come to me, my daughter. Gloria Brant. Gloria falls on her adoptive father's shoulder, racked by silent tears. Gloria Brant. Father. You join their embrace. Gloria squeezes her hand in hers, your sister's eyes glimmering with joy and gratitude. She looks away to catch Stefan's gaze. He smiles at his sister with a mixture of grief and happiness. Your family stands together, embracing over your mother, who is too happy to speak. Your family is united at last. Days pass, and mother's condition continues to improve. The illness that once seemed so intractable slowly releases her from its clutches. And the enmity between Stefan and Gloria, the strife that has poisoned the family, is now gone. So, hey! Alright, this playthrough is 100% worth it. Wait. Oh, I thought my game froze. We are still family! Yo, actually, I take that back. This playthrough was worth it right there. That got me a little choked up. I wonder who Stefan duels. I'd be curious to see who he duels. I wonder if he dies like a permanent death to him. I wonder if it's an Arcanian or something. Transformation. It has been a long time since your last encounter with Octavia Melanides. You have come to expect to run into her from time to time in the most unusual of circumstances. But Octavia has all but disappeared, vanished completely from Imperial High Society. Then one night you come home to find a letter bearing the heraldic serpents of the Melanides dynasty. The handwriting is not Octavia's. This letter was penned by the Archduke himself, Archduke Melanides. We, Duke Tarquinius of the Great Melanides dynasty, salute you, Judge Davvon Jr. Brant. We have been made aware of your relationship with our daughter Octavia, but we shall leave the particulars of this relationship for another time. Lady Octavia has disappeared. It has been 1 month since she was last seen in any of our holdings within the city of Manazon. We, Archduke Melanides, expect you, Brant, to aid us in finding our lost daughter. Tread carefully lest you attract unwanted attention to this matter. The reputation of the Melanides dynasty is at stake. Do not fail us, Judge Brant. The Archduke's expectation represents a direct order to find her as soon as possible. To refuse him would spell certain and immeasurable disaster. You begin looking for Octavia immediately. The building where the Circle of La Turie used to gather was abandoned long ago. You have no hope of finding any of Octavia's followers there. You decide to search the prefecture archives. You spend an entire morning going through each and every case and report concerned with ancient races and rituals of old, even indirectly. After a long search, you finally stumble upon a familiar name, Alexis L. Lance, a noble from an influential bloodline. You impersonated him when you infiltrated the Circle of La Turie 2 years ago. The archives say that L. Lance was reported multiple times to be searching for another faith and claimed he was seeking to understand the designs of the twins in his own way. You chuckle upon seeing this. The original El Lance was one of the first humans ennobled by Shar Melandidus himself. The proud name of his forefather is the only thing that has saved the willful Alexis, the Inquisition's pyres. Regardless, he is your only clue to Octavia's whereabouts. You head for the El Lance mansion at once. You tell the servants at the door you have an urgent matter to discuss with their master. A tall, gaunt nobleman with thick beard walks down the stairs to greet you, studying you intently during the introduction. His eyes seem to be locked in a perpetual state of pain, but it is different from the ever-familiar pain and suffering from the common lot. You inform El Lance sternly that you are aware of his involvement in the Circle of La Terre and that hint at his noble origins may not save him from an inquisitorial visit this time. You are looking for Octavia Melandidus. Where is she? The eccentric nobleman lets out a rueful chuckle. He is not one to hide the truth. The Circle of La Terre is here, within these walls, El Lance tells you. The Lady Melandidus is currently conducting a ritual of the utmost importance. No one may interfere. This rite will return the La Terre to this world, or rather, it will return the world to the eternal fold of the La Terre. You resolutely walk past El Lance and his intellectualizing and march up the stairs. The servants rush to stop you, but one stern glance is enough to remind them of their lot. Upstairs, you hear the familiar droning chant. You fling open the massive, gilded double doors leading to the sitting room. The silhouettes in gilded masks and flowing garb are there, undulating in their dance and producing all manner of strange sounds. In the center of their dancing circle is Octavia Melandidus, lying prostrate on the floor. Octavia is dying. A sea of blood has already been drained from her slashed wrists, but she is still alive. You break through the circle of the La Terre followers and rush to Octavia's side. The Arthian opens her dark eyes to look at you, the world reflected in them growing faint and dim. She wheezes a true death rattle. Octavia's body melts away in your arms. Long fingers rest on your shoulder. They belong to Alexis El Lance. Lady Octavia will not be reborn, he tells you. She has left her body and soul alike. She has become La Terre. Without a word, the members of the circle slowly part and spread out around the large room. The deed is done, says El Lance. Sending one of our number to commune with the La Terre is the most we could have hoped for. Before you can compose yourself, the creature that was once Octavia flows into the room. Everyone falls silent, watching in wonder and awe. You can still recognize Octavia's features in this creature. It seems to float in the air, its body thinner, its skin now gilded and reflective in the candlelight, its eyes larger and bizarrely elongated. It's an alien! Actually, looks like an elf. Octavia's followers cover the creature's delicate shoulders with a cloak and stand reverently before it. The creature that was once an Archean approaches you slowly, without touching the ground at all. Its voice drones, remote and distant like an echo from a faraway realm. Octavia. You have borne witness to our rebirth. The one you call Octavia Melandidus is no more. The mind of the La Terre now resides within this body. The one called Octavia has cast off the shackles of your narrow world. She has awakened, now free of blood tide, birth, and other such burdens. She is the world as it exists in the mind of the La Terre. The only true world, for all other worlds exist within it. I'm reading like an alien because she looks like an alien. Neither you nor any other denizens of your illusionary world can return the one called Octavia to her cage. You must leave, human Davvon Brante. The one you seek is no more. Do we demand that Octavia be returned to her family? Do we let the La Terre go? Or we accept your beloved's transformation? I think we will accept it. Because why not? Screw it. Huh. What can happen? The creature that was once Octavia Melandidus turns away and slowly departs, as though swimming through invisible water. You shake off your amazement at witnessing this incredible creature. You tell yourself again and again that this is still Octavia, your beloved. With determination, you hurry after the creature and put your hand on its shoulder. Its body is so delicate now, so fragile, that you fear to shatter it with a single touch. The gaze of its abyssal, almond-shaped eyes is utterly inhuman. You know nothing of what has happened to her. You tell the reborn Octavia, but your feelings for her remain the same. No matter what, you accept her transformation and remain by her side in your thoughts and actions, even if she is no longer the woman you knew. The creature that calls itself La Turi reacts with a shadow of a smile that reminds you of the old Octavia. Ex-Octavia. She would be glad to hear that. We thank you, Davvon Jr. Brant. The one called Octavia's feelings for you were strong. She will remember you and leave you a place for you in this illusionary world until it burns away in the flames of her mind. You will remain connected until the world of the one called Octavia Melanides ceases to exist. But she must walk her path alone. You cannot aid her, nor can you hinder her. The time has come for the one called Octavia to see the world anew. She wishes to bid you adieu/farewell. The La Turi, this strange creature, suddenly grasps your hand and holds it to its face, inhaling the scent of your skin. Your body reacts to this touch with a flurry of emotions and sensations you cannot even attempt to describe. Finally, the creature once known throughout the province as Octavia Melanides floats down the stairs and disappears from sight. Dazed, you watch the members of the circle part and walk away without a word. You are soon left alone. As soon as you recover from this experience, you head to Castle Serpenverda. The Archduke will not tolerate any delays when it comes to his daughter's fate. The guards escort you to the ancient throne room, the same room where Octavia once met you herself. On the throne sits the Archduke, sullen and dour. His face resembles that of a bird of prey. His lips are tightly pressed. His body is hunched and tense. You kneel before the reigning lord of the province. Archduke Melanides. I have no time for formalities, Brant. Tell me what happened to Octavia. You remain kneeling, your eyes cast down. You tell him that you have been unable to find Octavia. You searched all across the city and questioned everyone who had ties to the Archduke's daughter, but it was all in vain. You have failed to carry out his order. Archduke Melanides listens, showing no emotions, but his hand clutches at his scepter harder and harder with every word. Does he even believe what you are saying? Archduke Melanides, you had a service you could have performed for me, Brant. A service that would have brought honor to your family. Instead, you have failed me. I will remember this when your father requests you to be ennobled by the sword. You should forget all ties you had to Octavia as well as my orders. Forever. The high road takes you back to Manazon, empty in the dark night. You cannot help but think of Octavia, or of the creature she has become. The creature that called itself La Turi has disappeared without a trace. The Archduke's men scour the entire city, but cannot find her. Will you ever see her fragile, ethereal silhouette again? We have a spiritual bond. Hey, we're disgraced. Imagine that. Go figure. We're disgraced and our job is pretty much forfeit. Hey, we lose some willpower. No big deal. Octavia's transformation. Archduke's daughter had transformed into a mysterious creature, neither Arcanian nor human in nature. Gulpy gulp. Are we still alive? Yes, we are. It's a miracle. Uh-oh. Gloria of House Brant. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. My death is made worth it by Gloria Brant being a thing. Gloria of House Brant. The sitting room is brightly illuminated by dozens of candles. Today, the tapestry bearing the Brant family crest, an oak branch wrapped in chains, hangs above the fireplace. The petitions have been granted and the paperwork is ready. Today, Gloria will join the Brant family and become your father's lawful daughter. The entire family has gathered together, except for Stefan. Ever since you and Gloria got your way, your elder brother has spent less and less time at home, preferring to take prolonged trips or visit his noble friends. Gloria is standing by her at the fireplace, clothed in a modest black dress, quite unlike her usual trousers and men's jacket. Even her hair is braided today. For the sake of this momentous occasion, she is behaving as reservedly as she can, though she often glances at you with gratitude. Father steps forward solemnly and makes a speech as the family watches in profound silence. Robert Brant. Come closer, Gloria, and become a branch of the Brant family tree. Gloria kneels humbly before the man she has called Sir Robert all her life. He holds his hand in front of her face as the ceremony demands. Robert Brant, this day forward you'll be a full member of this family, and your fate now bound with ours. Wear your name with honor, and may the Brant family prosper with you. Gloria leaves a filial kiss on the fingers of his outstretched hand. What does filial mean? I'll have to look that up. Robert Brant. Now rise, Gloria Brant. If anybody knows what filial means, please leave it in the comments below. Please, thank you. Slowly, gracefully, confidently, Gloria rises to her feet. For the first time since childhood, she looks and seems like your older sister. With a smile, father at last embraces his adopted daughter as a parent. Gloria warmly responds to his embrace, then hurries to you. Gloria Brant. Davvon Jr., we're legally brother and sister now. I owe it all to you. I swear I'll never forget what you've done for me. I promise I'll be more careful from now on. I'll only do what's the best for the family whose name I bear. You answer her without hesitation. Gloria has always been your family. All you did was make it official. Your sister squeezes your hand in excitement. This is her day, the day she has been waiting for all her life. Reputation minus 10 disgraced. Imagine that! We were already disgraced anyway, so big whoop, dude. Robert adopted Gloria and she's become a full-fledged Brant. Let's go. Can I get some justice points back? Okay, thanks. All right. Tomas's wedding. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. Okay. A lot of happy things going on right now. I think it's like the calm before the storm, before like I die. Tomas's wedding. This is a day you remember well. It began with a loud, impatient knock at the door. You were surprised to see Tomas paying a visit to your home. There is joy in his face as your old friend shakes your hand. Tomas Guerrero. Brant, it's been a while since I saw you last. I just got back to the city. I visited my folks, then ran straight here. Otten finally stopped hounding me. I sure hope that whole mess is over for good. You invite your friend in, but he gestures for you to wait. A sly smile on his face. Tomas Guerrero. I'm in a hurry right now, buddy. So much to do, so little time. I'll explain. I just got back from Solmina. There was this girl in the village, a shopkeeper named Mary. She gave me shelter, and I ended up falling head over heels in love with her. You congratulate your friend and pat him on the shoulder with joy. He laughs happily. Ha ha ha! My poor mom and pa. All their life they'd hoped I'd marry a noble woman. I used to hope for that too when I was young, but now I know some things matter more than noble titles. Mary is about to be my wife. You offer Tomas words of congratulation, but he suddenly grows serious. Tomas Guerrero. Otten's left me alone, but Miri and I will still be better off far away from Manazon. I wasn't happy serving the Legion anyway. I thought the nobleman's lot would set me free from suffering and do the same for my descendants, but it just ain't that simple. I was less free than ever. I'll be better off as a commoner again, earning my living by the sweat of my brow. The farmstead might not be in a state, but the high and mighty won't ever see their sights on me again. I'll just live my life in peace, just like I wanted. I've just got one last request for you, Davvon Jr. You've done so much for me, but I'd be honored if you'd be a witness at my wedding vows before the twins. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it. Screw it. Let's do it. Your hand comes to rest on Tomas's shoulder. It would be an honor and a privilege for you to be a witness at your friend's wedding. Tomas glows with joy. Tomas Guerrero. Wonderful. You have no idea how much this means to me, Davvon Jr. I gotta go get ready. Several days later, you follow your childhood friend to a smallish temple nestled on the edge of the brass. Wedding is coming. On the edge of the brass district. He's wearing a plain white shirt. Needless luxuries are forbidden at the austere wedding ritual. You are both welcomed by a bride, a blonde-haired young woman, innocence and hospitality written across her trusting face. The bride's parents stand further away, two aging villagers eyeing the streets of the big city with suspicion. Tomas Guerrero. Mary, meet Davvon Jr. Brante, my best friend ever since we were lads. He'll bear witness to our oaths before the twins. The bride greets you with a humble bow. The three of you step inside the temple. You close the doors behind you. Tradition demands no one else be allowed to attend the sacred wedding ritual. An amiable, aged priest by the name of Ignatius Aventini meets you inside. Tomas and Miri kneel before the altar. Ignatius Aventini. O twins, elder and younger, behold these two as they kneel before you. They beseech you to join them in eternal wedlock. The candle flames dance and quiver. You hear a strange murmur in the temple. The darkness between the vault of the temple ceiling swirls into two colossal shades. The bride and groom raise their eyes to them, awestruck. Ignatius Aventini. Dost thou swear the loyalty to this divine union? Tomas Guerrero. I do. The bride assents to the same query. Why did I read it like that? Your turn is next. You stand over the kneeling bride and groom and speak their names as the twins watch over you. Tomas Guerrero and Miri of Solmina. One of the colossal shades leans over them, looming like a towering sword, while the other bursts in a beacon of blinding light that illuminates the temple from within. Tomas and Miri look into each other's eyes in amazement. From this moment forth, they are bound to one another by divine law, and divine love fills their heart. Ignatius Aventini. The sight of the twins Tomas Guerrero and Miri Solmina are now man and wife, as Davvon Jr. Brante bears witness. The stern, solemn ceremony has ended. It is time to celebrate. A humble but happy feast is to be held in the bride's village. As day gives way to night, you and Tomas leave the revel to enjoy a moment of quiet repose on the front porch. Your old friend looks off in the distance, hopeful. Tomas Guerrero. Yeah, remember how we fought in that yard over our little brothers? Look how much has happened since then. Both of you laugh as you recall the beginning of your friendship. Tomas Guerrero. I'll treasure those memories forever. I will. And you can be sure that my firstborn's name will be Davvon Jr. Jr. Davvon Jr. squared. Tomas chuckles, pondering. Tomas Guerrero. You and I, we grew up on the same street, but look how different we turned out. You have a say in other people's fates, Brante. Your name will surely be remembered. But me, I'm still a humble nobody. And you know what? I'm okay with that. I used to be so sure a man could never start over with a clean slate, but I guess I was wrong. I'll never forget you, Davvon Jr. Brante, and I'll never forget everything you've done for me. A tear runs down your friend's cheek. For the last time, Tomas embraces you. Tomorrow he will leave Manazon forever. Will you ever meet him again? Nobody knows. Let it be known that when I die within the next half hour or so, that I am happy with some of the outcomes, at least in this playthrough. Death cometh. Death do becometh. I might not be able to make a difference in the overarching world, but I will have made a difference in the lives of those around me. Repentance. The last few months have been marked by a welcome absence of quarreling at the Brante estate. Your only concern these days is the price you've had to pay for this peace. Today you come home late, wrung dry after a day of work and worry. Everyone is sound asleep. You are making your way to your bedroom when you hear a suspicious noise coming from Father's study. It is too late for Father to be working. You go to the door of the study, trying to tread softly, and turn the knob. The room is brightly lit by the moon. You recognize your brother's clumsy silhouette above your father's desk in the moonlight. Nathan hears you come in and leaps to the side in fear. You see something glinting in his hand. Father's dagger. Nathan Brante. Oh, Davvon Jr., it's you. Josh, I just took the dagger for a moment. Don't worry, I know holding a weapon is against my lot. I don't mean anyone any harm. It's for me, actually. I have to go to the twins. Your younger brother clumsily turns the dagger around, holding it against his own body. You try to remain still. Nathan wants to take one of his own lives? But why? Nathan Brant. Not sure how to say it, brother. I just can't find a place in this world. I'm always an outsider, always a waste of space. Isn't there some place for me in the twins' design? I can't stop thinking about it. I've been trying to understand them for so long. How am I supposed to live in their world? What's my place in their great plan? But I've only made things worse. I meddled with the Markian sect, defied and rejected my lot, indulged in vice. But I found nothing there. The old faith, the new faith, Father's Mark's heresy, it gave me all sorts of answers, but none of them worked. There's nothing else left for me now. I've got to go see the twins myself and ask them. I know I'm an affront to their plan just because I'm alive, but I'll repent. I'll pray for their forgiveness. But the twins will never forgive, you tell Nathan softly. They never have, and they never will. You'll be judged in the hereafter for every false step you take. Your younger brother sighs heavily. Nathan Brant. I know. Mother taught us that all our lives. But I still have to try. There's no other way. One of my lives isn't too big a price if it works. I can't find any use for them anyway. See you soon, brother. Hope I'll be different when I come back. A cloud passes over the moon. Father's study grows dark, illuminated by the shining light of the pillar. Nathan's body contorts awkwardly. He raises the dagger, aiming it at his own heart. Sure, let's call for Mother. You confront Nathan with a question he has not considered. What will Mother say about this? Nathan stops, stunned, startled. His hand clutching the dagger is unmoving and limp, hanging in air. Nathan Brant. Mother? You assure your younger brother that Mother will help him deal with his misfortune. You are going to call her right now. You keep your eyes trained on Nathan as you shout loudly for her. Your cry wakes up everyone in the house, but Mother is the first to reach you. She is very worried. Lydia Brant. Twins almighty, Nathan, stop! Please! Nathan is frozen in place. His fingers grip the dagger's hilt even tighter. Nathan Brant. Mother, I'm so sorry, Mother. I just have to go there. I have to reach the twins, just for a little while. I need them to hear me. Lydia Brant. And call out to them from here. You don't need to be in the hereafter to be heard, my son. Remember, they're always watching. They see every moment of your life. All you need to do is pray to them, my son. The twins are always at your side. Not only at the moment of death, your life is their gift, and they watch every single choice you make. Remember how you felt their gaze when you were a little boy? You hear a dull, ringing sound as steel clatters against the floor. Nathan has dropped the dagger. Nathan Brant. Yes, but why don't they tell me anything? Why is dying the only way I can be close to them? Lydia Brant. My dear son, must not dare to demand themselves from the twins. I'm sorry, my dear son, you must not dare to demand anything from the twins themselves. All you can do is ask. All you're doing right now is demanding. Listen to me. Give me the answer. You cannot do this. You must address them in prayer, in honest, humble prayer, born from the truth in your heart. It's hard work, but if such is their will, one day they will respond, and then you will find peace. Mother opens her arms for Nathan. He sobs loudly. His knees buckle as he nearly collapses into Mother's arms. Lydia Brant. It's a good thing your brother was at your side in this time of trouble. Twins bless you for this good deed, Davvon Jr. Nathan stops wasting time in taverns with suspicious characters. He spends every day in ardent prayer. The family watches the stark change in their wayward son with great surprise. And then one day, Nathan shares a revelation with you. Nathan Brant. I spoke to them, brother. I was deep in humble prayer, not even hoping for an answer, but I felt them listening to me. Felt it with all my being. It's like I left the mortal realm and went up to the heavens, and I dared to address them. I begged the twins for forgiveness, and the elder, he reached out to me. He wanted to respond to me. I know he did, but the younger sword stopped us. He cut the bond between us. It was like I fell back down from a great height. But I saw compassion in the elder's eyes as I fell, and he followed me. He shall descend again. He shall witness our suffering and bring his mercy, and the world will change at last. Yay, Unity +1. How about a couple points of justice though, thanks? Manipulation +1, eloquence +1. I wish I had eloquence in real life. I wish I had a solid speaking ability. I don't feel like I hate my voice. I hate the way I speak. And I wish that I could speak eloquently, clearly, and with authority and resonance. And I just can't. Year 1145. A storm on the horizon. For over a year now, Manazon has been steadily simmering with unrest, like a soup pot over a small stoked flame. Commoners flock to the squares in droves. The mobs grow bolder, demanding new freedoms and protection under the law. The last straw insurgents commit brazen acts, hoping to overthrow the authorities. The noble gentry insisted that every mob be dispersed by force. They are ready to fight for their ancient privilege, sword in hand. In spite of this enormous pressure, Overseer Gaius Tempest remains highly reluctant to allow any bloodshed. But the common people are already too desperate. Even the age-old fear of the nobility's might is barely enough to keep them in check. More and more people are rejecting the lots and converting to the new faith. Not to mention other, stranger, more esoteric teachings and beliefs. New secret societies and clandestine gatherings appear every day. Printed pamphlets litter the streets. Yet no one is rushing to subdue the citizens or punish the city. For now. Father Leonard has transformed the Temple of the Silver Tree into a new believer stronghold. He is no longer afraid to break the ban on preaching the new faith. His sermons now openly challenge the old faith. Father Leonard. It seems the Church of the Twins is unable to recognize its great mistake. The lots must be abandoned as relics of the past. The Twins granted everyone the freedom to choose their own path in this world, and I will not stop until this freedom is recognized throughout the Empire. The next Patriarch of Magra must be chosen by the parish, not the clergy. This is the will of the Twins, and it must be ours as well. You know what would fix this entire Empire issue? Senator Palpatine. Darth Sidious himself, let's put him in charge. Leonard intends to amend the old order of the Church and become Patriarch. His opponents, however, are beset by internal struggle and strife. The Inquisition is fighting a myriad of heresies, more of which appear every day. Not even the highest ranks of the new faith are free from suspicion. The new faith, meanwhile, is steadily growing in numbers. People are no longer fear being damned to the foot of the pillar for rejecting the divine design. The streets are restless and dangerous. Minds and souls are beset by confusion. The authorities argue and bicker among themselves. Conspiracies plague the city. Time marches on, and the change is coming. It cannot be stopped. Can you find a way to guide it in the right direction? The weight of a new age now rests upon your shoulders. Church +2, Schism. A family matter. For over a year now, Manazon has been slowly simmering with unrest. The feud between the estates, between the old faith and the new, between the law of the Empire and noble traditions, tensions are at an all-time high, waiting for the slightest spark to catch fire and burn. Even your family's affairs have been affected by the growing unrest. It is during these troubled times that the future of your family will be decided. Father shakes you awake early in the morning. He is excited, clutching a letter bearing the imperial seal of the Tempest dynasty. Robert Brante. Wake up, son. Come to the sitting room. A letter has come from Overseer Gaius Tempest. He gingerly breaks the seal and unfolds the missive. Gaius Tempest. To the Honorable Brante family, I, Gaius of the Tempest dynasty, Overseer of the province of Magra, have given due consideration to your petition to have your bloodline ennobled by the sword. You are expected in 1 week at Castle Aneri, as are all petitioners for the sword, where you shall hear my decisions firsthand. After finishing the letter, Father turns to you. He looks fatigued. Robert Brante. Well, son, it's time for us to be honest with each other about our family. What do you have to say about this? Where do we, the Brants, stand after so many years? What hopes do we have for the future of this family? The past 7 years have been marked by many life-changing events. The rare joys, the frequent fights, the arguments, the attempts at peace, the losses. Sometimes you have managed to change their minds and sometimes you have not. But your decisions have made you realize what matters most to you. The future of the Brant family must be decided here and now. We're going to preserve the family because that's all we can do. You reluctantly confess to Father what both of you already know. It is clear what Gaius Tempest's decision will be. Your family's hopes of being ennobled by the sword are long gone. You had to maintain your family's reputation and fortune and peace at home. It all proved too much to handle. After expending too much energy resolving the strife within your family, you had little strength left for the rest. With a sigh, Father agrees. Robert Brant. You're right, my son. We couldn't weather the storm that came upon us. Who could hope even for a hereditary title after that? I can only imagine how your grandfather must be raging in the hereafter. The Brant patriarch uneasily considers what comes next. Robert Brant. But our family is still together, still whole. It pains me to think that there were so many losses that could have been prevented. I must confess at one point I even feared there might be nothing of us left, but we are still a family. Very well, we will abandon the pursuit of the nobility of the sword for our descendants and tend to the Brant family itself. Nathan peeks into the sitting room. His hair is tousled. Nathan Brant. Father, Davvon Jr., what happened? Robert Brant. Nothing, Nathan. Life goes on, that is all. Oh, excuse me. Your father... What the heck? Sorry. Your weary father embraces his two sons. The last of the embers that were once the letter from Gaius Tempest smolder away in the fireplace. I feel like I have to hiccup, but it's not coming up, and it's weird. It was almost too much to bear, but your family ties have been preserved. The Brant family will live on. Hey, Gregor, go screw yourself, buddy. Hope he's rolling in the grave right now. I like how his opinion of me can, like, lower while he's dead, you know? The smell of gunpowder. The conditions have been met. Justice greater than 7. Mayor Egmont made a deal. Okay. The smell of gunpowder. All of Manazon has been rocked by a gunpowder explosion. Its victims were Legion officers in charge of a punitive battalion. For some years now, they have been using force to collect the Archduke's taxes from villages that refuse to pay. The common folk remember their cruelty well. Now the tables have turned. A tavern called the Three Falarii, the favorite drinking hole of the Legion officers, was blown up by a huge charge of gunpowder. Everyone in the tavern was killed. A number of people living in nearby homes were also injured. The reborn officers reported that they were blown up by an ordinary low-born girl. Before lowering her torch to the fuse, the girl cried out that now the nobles will pay for their crimes with their lives. The powder will make us all equals. Those were her last words. The Legion has been brought to combat readiness. Commander Otten plans to punish the criminal's entire home district. But the nobles of Manazon are nervous. No military training, no armor can protect them from a sudden gunpowder explosion. The city remembers that you were the one who made gunpowder available for silver mining. But now barrels of gunpowder are somehow being delivered to rebels rather than the mines. Never before have the Lowborn had such a dangerous weapon at their disposal. Justice plus. Let's go! Commoners seize power. Let's go, commoners. Let's go, commoners. Let's go, commoners. Let's go, commoners. Let's go. Let's go. Ba-na-na-na. Dun dun dun. Wait. Prison. What? Uh-oh. You walk down the cold step to the prefecture dungeon. The damp air makes it hard to breathe. You were urgently summoned here after the explosion at the Three Falaries. Falaras? The guards have captured the perpetrator, a low-born girl. Soon people from the secret chancellery will be here. Their institution handles riots and crimes against Imperial authority. The worst of it is that gunpowder is involved, and you are the one who succumbed to Mayor Egmont's entreaties and authorized the use of gunpowder in the silver mines. You need to get to the bottom of this before the secret chancellery comes after you. Behind the bars of the cell, you see Alita Serene, an unremarkable girl just like any other from the Brass District. She glances up at you suspiciously from under her long bangs and chuckles. Alita Serene. Yeah, I blew him up. I'm not gonna deny it, let alone beg for mercy. I know nobles haven't got any anyway. My sister taught me that when she was hanged for making a peaceful speech in the capital. You send the guards away. You need to interrogate the culprit one-on-one. Having made sure you are alone, you ask Alita where she got the gunpowder. She smirks, looking at you defiantly. Alita Serene. This is just the beginning. We're the last straw. We're gonna destroy the old order, reduce it to nothing. We've got weapons. We've got gunpowder. We aren't helpless anymore. You are interrupted by loud footsteps down the hall, accompanied by angry shouts. You have to hold your tongue. The guards push another prisoner into the adjacent cell. Your heart skips a beat when you recognize him. Mayor Egmont. Do you know who I am? I'm half the mines in Magra. Judge Brante, your guards dragged me here by force. Why didn't you just summon me? I'd have come of my own free will. The guards unceremoniously lock the industrialist in the cell and report to you. This commoner is suspected of transferring gunpowder to the rebels. You once again command the guards to leave you alone with the conspirators. They lock the cells securely before leaving. You, Egmont, and the rebel Alita are alone in the cold semi-darkness. Egmont chuckles. Egmont clutches the bars anxiously. Mayor Egmont. Now I see. I'm accused of orchestrating the explosion at the Three Faleras. Come closer, Brante. Your life is in as much peril as mine. You take a step forward, approaching the bars. You feel the imprisoned industrialist's heavy breath on your face. Mayor Egmont. I'll cut right to the chase, Brante. Yes, with your help, we put the gunpowder to good use. We used it for a great cause, fighting for the rights of the lowborn. I armed the soldiers of the last straw, and I'm forming my own militia. The gunpowder finally forced the nobles to take us seriously. But I'm not a madman, and I'm not a butcher. The explosion in the tavern was just a way to demonstrate that we're capable of, in case the Empire doesn't make any concessions. We're no longer just rabble that can be ordered about, and we achieved that in no small part thanks to your help, Judge Brante. Now the nobles will see that if we don't give us rights, we'll have to take them by force. You look at the wealthy commoner in consternation. So, you have unwittingly become part of his conspiracy. Mayor Egmont. Yes, I concealed some parts of my plan from you, but it was even safer for you this way. You continued your work as a judge in your fight for justice while we did our part. I just wish the last straw had worked a little more cleanly. You demand that Egmont tell you the nature of his connection to the last straw. Mayor Egmont. We made an alliance. The last straw are relentless fighters, like this young lady here. And it's wonderful that there are people who are willing to make sacrifices for the greater good. Sadly, sometimes they leave too many clues behind. Alita Serene. Our cause is just. Egmont casts a disapproving sidelong glance at the rebel girl. Then he leans in even closer and continues quietly. Mayor Egmont. But explosions and bloodshed aren't my goal. I'm going to make Manazon the first city in the Empire where all citizens have equal rights, no matter what estate they're born to or what lot they have. Isn't that what you've been struggling to achieve all along, Brante? Do you think this is just some fantasy? We're one step away from taking power in the city and imposing our conditions on the Overseer and the Archduke. Time is running out. Soon the secret chancellery will take us, and then our cause is doomed. Unfortunately, you'll go down with us, my friend. We're in this together since you gave us the gunpowder. Let's not let this happen. But not now, not when we're so close to sparking a genuine uprising. You don't betray your emotions to Egmont. Your face is thoroughly concealed by the shadows. Mayor Egmont. Let us both out of the cage, me and the girl from the last straw. Help us escape. I'll make sure you're clear of any suspicion. It'll seem like we broke out on our own. The secret chancellery will be busy hunting us down and they'll leave you alone. Meanwhile, we'll finish our preparations and strike first. You've already picked a side, Davvon Jr. Wait, what? Why can't I help them escape? Not high enough. Oh my god. Oh my god. You've already picked a side, Davvon Jr. Brant. Now's not the time to change it. Help me escape and you'll be one of the heroes of the uprising. But if you betray me, you'll be one of its first victims. Hurry. I feel like scheming should not stop me from trying. Like, I'd rather die trying to help them escape than keep them in captivity. I feel like one way they could have done this a little bit better. One small type of complaint. One small complaint I have with this game is that I feel like I should be allowed to. How do I say this? I feel like I should be allowed to make the decision to help them escape and then fail it, knowing that my scheming is not high enough. Do you understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to say is, like, I want to be able to try to help them escape, and since my scheming is not high enough, I want them to kill me or lose a life. I would rather help them escape and die that way than keep the prisoners in captivity, knowing that I screwed the like this is the outcome that I want. I want to help them escape, but I can't do it. So finally, you let Egmont see your face in the semi-darkness. You've had a sneer on your lips for quite some time. No, you are not going to go down because of Egmont's deception. You have your own plans in that regard. Egmont. It's too late. You can't stop it, Brant. You fool. The uprising will make mincemeat of you if you don't come to your senses. History will be on our side. Not listening to him, you turn around and swiftly go upstairs. Egmont's threats die out in the darkness. Doing your best to look composed, you walk up the stairs and announce that the interrogation is over. It is time to hand the prisoners over to the secret chancellery. Afterwards, you lock yourself in your office and go through all your papers in the search of any evidence that could link you to Egmont. You burn all proof of your involvement in the unfortunate gunpowder affair, but this isn't all. You'll have to go to other imperial institutions as well. Hopefully, your connections will be enough to sever any threads leading back to you. You hear a knock at the door. A familiar figure with a cane treads heavily into your office. Felipe Alfaro, the secret chancellery advisor, carefully examines you. Felipe Alfaro. You again, Sir Brant? I've just interrogated the captured insurgents. You break into a cold sweat and do your best to maintain a calm facade. Alfaro looms over your desk, obstructing the light. Felipe Alfaro. So, there is no doubt that the explosion was the handiwork not only of the last straw, but also of Mayor Egmont, whom you know well. I was particularly curious to find out who was responsible for authorizing the use of gunpowder in his mines. He named you. The advisor pauses and observes you. You look back at Sir Felipe dispassionately. The storm that is raging inside you must be contained. Suddenly, Felipe beams at you and shrugs. Felipe Alfaro. But, you know, I'd never take a commoner's word over that of a nobleman. And you are a true nobleman, aren't you, Brant? You lower your head modestly. Felipe Alfaro. So I thought, the noble lot is not an easy one. Even the best of us make mistakes sometimes. But this is where a noble education comes into play. We nobles know how to fix our mistakes. You explain gravely that you had no idea that allowing the use of gunpowder in the mines would lead to this. You only wanted to ensure the prosperity of the province. Felipe Alfaro. I have no doubt about that. That's why you're going to do me a favor, for the sake of the province. Over the last few years, you've worked hard to satisfy the claims and please the commoners. But do you know how many insurgents could have been among them? The secret chancellor will review these cases. I hope you do not mind if I take over your office for a while. You won't need it for the time being. By my authority, I hereby declare a state of emergency in the prefecture. It will remain in effect until we have dealt with the threat of the uprising. You may go now. Take a break and don't get involved. We'll call for you when we need you again. Alfaro installs himself in your chair and promptly begins going through your papers. He is no longer paying attention to you. You have no choice. You vacate your own office. Back home, you collapse into bed and sleep for a long time. Mayor Egmont is hanged before a huge crowd. The execution of a prominent advocate for commoners' rights infuriates them, but they are too frightened to take up arms. In addition, many say that Egmont only desired more power and profit for himself, not protection for the poor. Egmont's body is left hanging in the square in front of the city hall for a long time, as a reminder of the fate awaiting anyone who attempts to defy the Imperial Order. You spend the next month at home. The explosion allowed the secret chancellery to obtain special authority for the purpose of defeating the rebels. The gates of Manazon are locked. Citizens are commanded not to leave their homes without good reason. The guards, transferred temporarily under the command of the secret chancellery, prowl the city, searching houses and arresting suspicious individuals. The people they arrest usually disappear without a trace. Finally, a month later, the secret chancellery declares that the threat of rebellion has been eliminated. The guards return to Elborn's command. For the first time in a long while, you go to the prefecture. Your office has hardly changed, although it is clear that it has been used daily. The inkwell is all but empty. A number of documents concerning your old cases have vanished from the drawers. You see small spots of dried blood on the carpet. Mayor Egmont, -4 relation. Well, you're dead, so I don't really care. Power, -1. Struggle for power. Justice, -3. Go frickin' figure, dude. Like... Okay, I'm gonna say one thing really fast. I got +3 justice when that started. Things were lined up, 10 justice in order to start the uprising. By the end of that chapter, because my scheming was not high enough, I lost all 3 justice points and the uprising was quelled because of actions of myself that I had no choice over because my scheming wasn't high enough. Understandable, but again, I would have preferred to have died failing a scheme check than taking the choice that I wanted, because now the result that I wanted is all but assuredly gone now. And the only way I could have done that is, I think, sacrificing some of the other results that I got. So for example, I would have probably had to have accepted Stefan to take Gloria's wedding to get 1 scheming point, okay? So in order for my family to remain together, I feel like, how do I put this? I feel like I had to choose between my family or the uprising in this, and I don't like that. But then again, this forces you to make hard choices, and that's kind of the part of the game. So it's equal parts annoying, and at the same time, it is what it is. It's part of the game. Like, it's what makes part of this game so great is you're forced to make tough decisions. I don't like the way that, like, I'm happier with my death in the last game and the way things were playing out than I am so far with my decisions in this game. Like, even if I made it to the end, I prefer the death in the last game than surviving through this game. Final preparations. The carriage takes you further down the city's narrow streets. They are filled with noble carriages and commoners hurrying about their business, but the driver skillfully avoids them all. You watch the city uneasily from behind the carriage doors. The past few months have been so tense and challenging, they felt like a single unbearable moment. You had to face one ordeal after another. In Otten's case, sometimes fell by the wayside. Oh, excuse me. But you have no doubt that the outcome of this case will determine your fate. Your previous encounters with the Hofty commander have assured you of that. The time to strike Otten down is coming soon. Right now, you need to make your final preparations. Your gut tells you that time is running out. Either you seize the initiative or Otten will destroy you himself. But what should you focus on at this critical juncture? You consider your options. Okay, so my eloquence isn't high enough. My diplomacy is not high enough. I guess we bide our time. It's just, it's frustrating, man. It's like, I get the points that I need for some of these things, and they just get knocked back down. Oh well, on to the next. We bide our time. I feel like this is the part where I die anyway. You rub your hands together in satisfaction. Soon, very soon, Otten will be the only one unaware of his inevitable downfall. You tell the driver to take you home. You'll take this time to rest up and regain your strength before the most trying challenge of your life. The hour has come. You stand at the window of your office and watch the living streets below, exhausted. For over a year, Manazon has been steadily simmering with unrest, like a soup pot over a well-stoked flame. The endless feud between the Archduke and the Overseer, the first trials against the nobles, insurgencies flaring up all across the Empire. Grim, heavy, dark red storms Storm clouds now hang in the sky above Manazon. Preachers of the new faith fill the streets, urging the people to reject the lots. The abbot of the temple at the Silver Tree, Father Leonard, has turned the city's most ancient church into a new believer stronghold. Commoners flock to the squares in droves. The mobs grow bolder and bolder as they demand new freedoms and protection under the law. Commoners have begun forming armed militias. The last straw, insurgents commit brazen acts, hoping to overthrow the authorities. The nobles of the sword demand that every mob be dispersed by force. They are ready to fight for their ancient privileges, sword in hand. You cast a glance back at your desk, still covered with piles of paperwork for Otten's case. You've been working on it for over 2 years now. This case will have to reach a conclusion someday, but when? Will you be able to free yourself from the mortal peril into which it has drawn you? Your thoughts are interrupted by heavy footsteps and clacking hooves. The square in front of the prefecture quickly clears as workers and merchants do their best to flee. The Legion battalion is advancing on the prefecture. It is led by Dorius Otten on horseback and in full armor. He rides right up to the steps. The square resounds with his commanding voice. Dorius Otten. I am Dorius Otten, High Commander of this province, and I have come to demand justice. I have a proof that a judge named Davvon Jr. Brante has been collecting slander for years, seeking to tarnish the Otten name. I have already warned this judge, and I will not stand by idly in the face of an insult. To accuse me is to undermine the rule of the Archnians, our noble traditions, and the sacred order of the Empire itself. I demand that a stop be put to this campaign of defamation. I expect Judge Brante to burn this so-called case right now. Until that happens, my battalion is under orders to treat all those who serve at the prefecture as traitors to the crown. No one will leave this building until I see these vile accusations against an Archean dynasty burned to ash. Alborn comes rushing into your office. He is pale as a ghost, but trying his hardest to remain composed. Augustine Alborn. Davvon Jr., Otten caught us off guard. I knew he would have to begin his trial much sooner. He has the upper hand now. No one will come to our aid. We must give Otten our reply. It's all up to you now, Sir Brante. This is it, the moment of truth. How will you respond to Otten's ultimatum? Without saying a word, you stare out the window again. The sky is dark and overcast, thunder echoing in the distance. The Legion soldiers stand still, awaiting new orders. Otten's horse is right by the stairs as he awaits your reply. The past several years flash before your eyes. Cases and verdicts, threats and promises, decisions and deeds. Where have they led you, your career, your province? How will you approach the task of rebuffing one of the mightiest Archnians in the province? It will all be decided now. We're gonna charge him with the crimes, obviously. You descend the stairs and walk to the door of the prefecture, ready to meet the Otten face to face. You have worked hard to defend the rule of law within the province, and your efforts have borne fruit. Commoners, nobles, even Archnians are all now equal before the law. It is thanks to you now that this change has been taken. It is thanks to you that this change has taken root, both in and out of court. You have had to sacrifice your own career and your family's reputation. You've been intimidated and shunned by your peers. But now you will see this through to the very end. Otten is not just any noble Archean. He is the High Commander of the province, the right hand of Archduke Melanidas. But he will stand trial nonetheless. Your evidence is overwhelming. And after the people hear of this, the court will have no choice but to find him guilty. You approach Otten and face him. He dismounts his horse, but clad in a full suit of ancient armor, the Archean is still a head taller than you. Dorius Otten, here you are at last, Brante. You obeyed me and came out. A wise choice, but where are all the papers you are to burn? You stare down the High Commander and tell them that this case awaits him in the court of law to which he has been summoned. You hereby accuse Dorius Otten of murdering 19 servants of the Empire. The trial will begin 3 days hence and is open to all citizens of Manazon. Dorius Auden. You vile wretch. How dare you give orders to an Archnean? Or do you want me to round up the tally and make it 20? You did not even flinch at his words. Behind you, the pillars of the prefecture, the stronghold of law and justice, reach up for the sky. You notice people flocking to the square, taking heed of your voice. Have no fear, Judge Brante, they shout. Protect the judge! The commoners form a living wall between you and the furious Archnean warrior. Dorius Brante. Battalion, prepare for battle! Disperse the mob! But the Legion soldiers behind Auden are already faltering. The Legionnaires no longer wish to tolerate the murderer of their brothers in arms. The battalion captain stares at Auden, his eyes like daggers. Sheathe your swords, he commands his men. About face, to the barracks, march. Abandoned, the Archnean looks around in confusion, alone and armor-clad, like a painting of old brought to life. Dorius Auden. Traitors! You all call yourself nobles? You all pay for this, every last one of you. As will you, Brante, your low-born cronies in your foul court. Auden leaps onto the saddle and flees the square, booed by the resentful crowd. You let out a loud sigh. Only now do you realize how incredibly tense you felt. Elborn's hand comes to rest on your shoulder. Guys, I lied. I'm happy now. I am incredibly happy. Augustine Elborn. We've won, Davvon Jr. Auden has already lost, whether he knows it or not. Prepare for the trial, Brante. The sky over Manazon splits apart, showering the dust-covered streets with long-awaited rain. Yo, where's my attribute changes? Please tell me I got my justice points up. Auden's sentence. The day of the trial has come. The large prefecture courtroom is overcrowded. The gentry rarely, if ever, visit this place, to say nothing of the Archnean dynasties. But this is an unprecedented occasion. The man about to stand trial is an Archnean, one born to rule. Dorius of the Auden dynasty, the High Commander of Magra, the Archduke's second in command. All of the elite provincial aristocracy here today to show their support for Auden. You see Magistrate Elverman among them, as well as many other nobles you have angered as a judge. The noblemen are restless, clutching uneasily at the hilts of their swords. Prefect Elborn presides over the trial. Gaius Tempest occupies the seat of honor next to him. The overseer's face remains coldly indifferent. Your time has come. You walk to the podium, step after step, the weight of their gazes on your back. Thanks to your efforts, commoners and nobles must now face trial equally. Those born to rule have no choice but to submit to the justice system. Step by step, the future depends on what you are about to say. You begin the opening statement for the prosecution. First, you say that Sir Dorius Auden, a highborn noble, has been found in violation of the Emperor's ban on dueling, with ample evidence to the effect. Dorius Auden. Enough of this. I've already wasted far too much time on this pathetic trial. So you want my money, eh, Judge? Very well, I'll pay all the fines. The Auden bloodline can afford them and more. But I was born into my lot, and that lot is to wage war and kill. Thus do I serve the divine design. And no once low-born human is going to teach me how to live by my lot. In the sight of Gaius Tempest, a fellow nobleman born to rule, I demand an end to this disgraceful farce. May no Archnean ever be summoned again to this filthy courtroom fit for peasants and petty merchants. The stalls grow silent. All eyes turn to the overseer. Gaius Tempest winces and knits his eyebrows. He casts a glance over the nobles gathered in the courtroom, then nods for Elborn to continue. Gaius Tempest. In one sense, Sir Auden, you are correct. It truly is disgraceful to see an Archnean stoop so low that he must be brought before this court. The trial will continue. Sir Brante, please conclude your opening statement. You move on to the core of your accusations, speaking with such force that it shakes the stalls. Auden has not merely violated the dueling ban, he has taken lives of at least 19 of his subordinates, all loyal, servants of the Empire. This is manslaughter. It is an act of sabotage against the Legion. It is treason against the Emperor himself. Hold on a sec. I need to see my career points. Occupation. What's my justice? See, my justice is only at 7 right now, and it very much bothers me because I feel like because I called him out in the middle of the square, I should have got justice points today. That does not make sense to me. I got no points or anything out of that decision. So my destiny here. Protector of the people. Ought in his sentence. I needed justice 8 or 9. I don't understand. Why did I not get... I want to know why I did not get any justice points for the fact that I did that in the square. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense to me. You speak these last words right in Otten's face. All the grumbling voices from the stalls immediately grow quiet. The High Commander turns pale with fury. Glorious Otten. Gaius Tempest, you are an overseer. You hail from the Emperor's own bloodline. Are you going to allow this unprincipled human scum to decide an Archnean's fate? Why, this is nothing more than a bid to seize power, the very power that has flowed through our veins since the Empire was founded. Gaius Tempest rises from his seat, his calm countenance twisted with rage. Gaius Tempest, the Imperial Court of Justice is that very power. Muffled gasps and quiet cries echo from the stalls. The High Commander grits his teeth and stares defiantly at Gaius Tempest. Glorious Otten. Then you are the traitor here, your grace. You're the one who has betrayed the province, nay, the entire empire by condemning us to the mercy of the humans under the lowly, dishonorable law. Archduke Melandidus is the only one who still remembers his honor as an Archnean and a noble, and justice is on his side. I say this before the entire aristocracy of Anazat. The nobles in the stalls who have come to stand with Otten recoil in terror. His supporters retreat further into the recesses of the courtroom. Gaius Tempest, you are mad, Otten. Be quiet or I shall silence you permanently. Proceed with the verdict of Prefect. Elborn exchanges a meaningful glance with you and ascends to the podium. Augustine Elborn. Glorious Otten, for violating the ban on dueling and manslaughter of Imperial servants and treason against Overseer Tempest, this court hereby deprives you of your sword and sentences you to eternal exile from the province of Magra. Otten stands still, unmoving, unflinching. The guards cautiously approach the Archnean to take his sword. Otten suddenly draws the blade himself and hands it to the officers of the court. Otten's sword comes to rest in your hands. The entire courtroom watches you, holding its breath. Raising your old nemesis' weapon above your head, you turn to face the courtroom. You snap Otten's blade in half. The venerable old steel shatters with a ringing sound, reduced to pathetic broken fragments. Blood trickles down your arms, but you do not notice the pain. Otten's eyes are dead and empty as he stares at you. He staggers to his feet and stumbles out the door and walks away. His steps echo loudly in the deafening silence of the courtroom. Glorious Otten, once the High Commander of Magra, has been stripped of his sword and banished to exile. Your bloodied hands still clutch the verdict. Today marks a precedent the likes of which the Empire has never seen. The old ways will never be the same. Thanks to you, change has been put in motion today. There is no stopping it. Okay, I'm very confused right now. I did not have enough justice to do that, but Otten is sentenced. I guess it worked. Wealth of Magra +1, order +2. Where are my justice points at? Otten is sentenced, event is had. Okay, so I'm confused. Why is my justice 8 or 9? Why was I able to still pull it off even though I didn't have it? I'm not gonna complain. I wouldn't have complained earlier if I had known. You know what I'm saying? Like, I should have let it play out before complaining, and I do apologize. If I'm coming off as whiny in this playthrough, I apologize. It's simply because a lot of events up to this point, I have not been happy with the decisions that I've been forced or had to make because of the limitations of decisions I made myself. I'm not blaming the game. It's just, I just don't like the way I was portrayed or portrayed the character in this one. I feel like I wasn't in control of my own narrative for a good portion of it. However, having said that, I have gotten what I wanted. Gloria is a Brante, and Otten is sentenced. Those were the two biggest things I wanted. Now, the commoners taking over was a third thing as well. And the whole losing 3 justice because of the mayor and I having no choice, it kind of stings a little bit. But at the same time, I want to make it 100% clear. I love this game. It's an amazing game. It's well written. It's well done. It makes you make tough decisions, and it does exactly what it intends to do. I just am not happy with how I have played it through the second time through. I'm sorry if I come off as whiny. Hey, we survived peacetime! Let's go! Peaceful years are over. The storm of the revolt is brewing in Manazon. Tomorrow will be the day you will reap the harvest of all your deeds during these 8 years. Let's go. All right, voice, don't fail me now. Let's get into, what is it, the revolt next? Continue. Made it through peacetime. Hallelujah!
At last, the day has come which would decide my fate, as well as that of my family, and perhaps the entire empire. The day of the revolt.
Uh-oh. All right, here it is. The revolt begins. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. Conditions met. Auten is sentenced. The revolt begins. Word about the sentence you passed upon the Arcanian commander instantly spreads throughout Manazon. The commoners are celebrating. For the first time, the law has proven to be more powerful than the ancient authority of the Arcanians. All over the city, triumphant crowds are assembling. The people praise Judge Brante and declare an end to their oppression. The outcries become more daring by the hour. Freedom from tyranny. Down with the noble yoke. The authorities anxiously observe the people's revelry. Elborn receives orders from the magistrate to disperse the crowds with the guards, but he refuses to do so, on the grounds that the people are unarmed and assembling peacefully. Elverman is livid. The animosity among the ruling circles is quickly transforming into naked enmity. Humiliated, Auten refuses to comply with his sentence and go into exile. Dorius Auten. The city is on the brink of revolt. Whatever that dishonorable court may have decided, my duty is to remain in Magra and stop this maddened mob. The nobility of Manazon eagerly gather under Auten's banners, outraged by his sentence. They assemble a militia, ready to quell the disturbances with force. The news that Auten has refused to comply with the court's sentence infuriates the commons folk. The crowds in the squares become larger. Gangs of armed commoners take to the streets. Remy Elverman is already dead, his life taken by the verdict of the People's Court. He was strangled by the mob that broke into the city hall. The Chancellor's lifeless body now hangs just outside the windows of his office for all to see. There is no stopping the revolt now. But you know that after Auten's trial, your name carries weight in the eyes of the commoners. How will you use their support at this crucial moment? Sophia leading the revolt. Remy Elverman. Dead as hell. The revolt. +2. Stalemate. Wait. What? I missed something here. I didn't see all this. I missed all this. Did I skip over something, or does it just not show it to me? Okay, let me go over these outcomes really quick. The city is defended, leading the revolt. Troops greater than 2. The revolt, common folk. The rebels managed to fight back the attack of the Legion and hold Manazon for some time. Peace of the Overseer, surrender of the revolt. The revolt is defeated. The Legion is defeated. The revolt wins a decisive victory over Imperial forces. The Manazon massacre. The revolt led by Sophia wins at the cost of a relentless massacre. Dark times. Neither side succeeds. Chaos and disorder spread all over the empire. Or true death. Family. The family is in the city. Family has perished. Family has fled. Family is saved. Occupation. You flee the violent streets of Manazon. You lead the revolt. You become a defender of the empire or a rebel. You take the side of the revolt. Okay, so we got some stuff here. Revolt. What is this? That's a +2. The general strength of the revolt. Forces gathered by the rebels. Solidarity among them. Support for the rebellion among the townspeople. The outcome of the struggle for Manazon will depend on how strong the revolt will be at the moment of the decisive collision. Bloodbath. Rebels are winning. Common folk. Trust +2. Indisputable leader. Okay. Nobles. Cautious support. Indisputable. Okay. Clergy. Troops. All right. Chapter 5. The Revolt. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. At dawn. For years now, the Manazon has been simmering like a cookpot over a slow flame. The powerlessness of the simple folk, unable to change the old order, has gradually given way to rage. Finally, this anger became stronger than their age-old submission to the higher estate and their fear of divine retribution. This rage was a spark that lit the fire of the revolt. All of Anazot's commoners have risen up in rebellion. Workers, artisans, merchants, beggars. They all long to break free of noble tyranny and the perpetual suffering that is their lot. The most daring among them have joined the last straw. The secret society has sent entire squads of trained soldiers out into the streets. They hand out guns and bombs to the people, weapons that give them a chance to wage war on equal footing against noblemen descended from generations of warriors. But the most dangerous weapon the rebels possess is the people's court. The commoners have claimed the right to sentence their enemies to true death. The first nobles executed by the last straw this very night served as proof that these sentences are very real. For the first time in the history of the Empire, the divine force of the law is in possession not only of the noblemen, but also those of the common estate. Among the rebels are many new believers. They are ready to take up arms to defend their faith and freedom from the Lots. They are led by Leonard, the abbot of the temple by the silver tree. Prefect Alborn's allegiance remains unknown. The Supreme Judge has taken such pains to give the lowly estate more rights. Will he support a revolt that strives to do the same? Manazon has recently been rocked by a series of spontaneous assemblies and protests. The mob demands equal rights for all estates and freedoms from the tyranny of the nobles. The authorities must recognize the new faith and grant the commoners the right to choose their own lot. By nightfall, the rebels had disposed of the guards and taken over the city gate. In a matter of minutes, Manazon was under their control. It is the duty of Overseer Gaius Tempest to crush the revolt. The Arcanian noble feared for his own position and power, so he was reluctant to punish the rebellious city as discontent slowly grew year by year. But the ensuing uprising has left him no choice. The Overseer has announced a full-scale mobilization. In the morning, the Legion will march toward Manazon under his command and attempt to return the city to Imperial authority with fire and sword. The expedition's arrival of the Legion is the only hope the nobles have left now that they are locked inside the city. Members of the higher estate, especially the old aristocratic families, fear the coming rampage and strive to keep order on the streets. Meanwhile, the Inquisition, led by Sister Jeanne, is trying to stop the new believers and urge the people to reject the revolt. Both groups are aware that if the rest of the province follows Manazon into rebellion chaos, the Empire itself and the divine order will begin to crumble. After nightfall, the city grows quiet. Its courtyards and squares are empty. In mansions and palaces, hasty negotiations are held and schemes are concocted. In dark cellars, the revolt is being prepared, and armed units are gathering. Parishes are getting ready to defend the temples of the new faith against the Inquisition. All citizens, rich and poor, common and noble, are arming themselves. Some with ancestral swords, others with cleavers. Manazon is preparing, waiting for the dawn. As the Legion arrives for the assault, the rebels assemble into a militia and get ready to fend off the Imperial army. But there is little unity in their camp. Their leaders are already mired in a power struggle. There are also defenders of the Imperial order within the city walls, members of the old aristocracy, soldiers of the Inquisition, priests of the old faith, commoners unwilling to defy the law and the twins' design. These people too refuse to lay down their arms. The first rays of the rising sun light up the horizon. This day will go down in history. Your entire life has led you to this moment. Step by step, you have made yourself the man you are now. Your actions today could alter the course of history, but are you ready to go the distance? What will become of you by the time the sun sets? So this must all happen in one day, maybe? Let the battle begin. At dawn. Hey, I got 2 points just for existing, I guess. Obviously, I'm going to take the side of the revolt. Oh, here we go. The first rays of the rising sun light up the horizon. This day will go down in history. Your entire life has led you to this moment. Step by step, you've made yourself the man you are now. Your actions today could alter the very course of history. Are you ready? The Legion is defeated. So, let's find out what we want, okay? Let us figure out what we want. The revolt wins a decisive victory over the Imperial forces. Okay. Peace with the Overseer. Forced to accept the demands of the revolt. Okay. Clergy greater than 2, nobles greater than 1, common folk 3, power 3 to 4. Okay. This might be the best option that I want. This is the most likely option, probably. Actually, I take that back. True death is probably the most likely option. The Manazon massacre, the revolt 6, Sophia leading the revolt. What do I have to do? I have to lead the revolt. Okay. This is what we're going to aim for. This is what we're going to aim for. Brante family is in the city. My family not perishing would be nice. Fleeing, saved, either way. Anything I need to do. Deeds that can accomplish on your chosen life path. I want to lead the revolt. Or side with the revolt. Either or. Revolt screen is now available. Let us continue. Are you guys prepared for the end of the game? Are you prepared to see me make stupid decisions that will end up getting me killed before we can see the end? I am so close, yet I still do not have faith in myself to see it through. We have 1 life left. 1 more death and we are done forever. Warning. This is all going to happen in 1 day, huh? Hopefully for my voice's sake, it is relatively shorter. The family's fate. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. Conditions met. The family falls apart. Does not fall apart. Okay. The first rays. Sorry. The family's fate. The first rays of the morning sun reach the windows of your family home. It would be so easy to forget about the impending revolt here within these old familiar walls. But the calm before the storm will soon be over, and yesterday's turmoil will return. There are only a handful of hours left. The Brants have to decide what to do. Should the family stay in the city and prepare to weather the storm? Should they join the struggle? Or should they simply avoid it? After a sleepless night, you gather in the sitting room as a family once again. Father is the first to speak. His determined yet surprisingly calm voice fills the room. Robert Brante. This is what I was afraid would happen. The noble estate has turned a blind eye to the common people's misery, and now we have a revolt on our hands. It is my fault as well. I did all I could to serve the cause of justice, but it just wasn't enough, and now blood will be shed. The family patriarch casts a somber gaze over his children. Robert Brante. I want to make one thing very clear. Today, our family cannot get involved in the unrest. We will not take sides. I feel for the common estate, but we're not getting dragged into a hopeless bloodbath. As for preserving the Overseer's rule in Manazon, we will not sacrifice ourselves for that either. He has led Magra to this rebellion, and now it's up to him and his legion to deal with the rebels. And we mustn't forget Commander Otten and his noble militia. They're all too eager to use this opportunity to slaughter all the nobles they blame for the revolt. Father is silent for a while, then he takes a sword off the wall and places it firmly on the table. His voice rings with the coldness of steel. Robert Brante. We will stay in our city and protect our home. Whatever danger we face today, the Brants will not surrender their home, their status, or their place in this world. None of you have ever seen Father so filled with resolve, but he still seeks your support. Robert, the patriarch of the Brante family, meets your gaze. Robert Brante. My son, I know you're going to make your own decision. You're too deeply involved in this conflict to just stand aside. But right now, I'm talking about our family here, Davvon Jr. Our family must remain out of harm's way, no matter what you decide to do. You insist that Manazon has grown too dangerous. Your family cannot stay here. Regardless of what you decide to do, they must flee the city before it is before it is too late. That is the one I choose. You respond firmly. Father is wrong. The family cannot remain in the city any longer. You have too many enemies. An attack on the Brante home is inevitable. The family needs to take advantage of the uprising to leave Manazon before it is too late. Father hesitates. He looks first at you, then at grandfather's portrait on the wall. The late Gregor Brante stares back at his progeny, implacable and stern. Implacable. Robert Brante. I can't just abandon our home. We'd be giving up our entire lives. You put your hand on Father's shoulder. Even if your family leaves the city, your lives will not end. The Brante family will live on. As a nobleman and the head of the household, it is Father's duty to keep the family safe, even if it means making sacrifices. Father lets out a bitter sigh and puts his sword back on the table. Robert Brante. You're right, Davvon Jr. My children are more important than my former life. I must protect them. Now hurry. We need to get ready for our journey. We're leaving this city. Everyone starts packing hurriedly. You take only what you need and nothing else. You move room from room. You move from room to room, gathering family jewels and heirlooms into a sack, watching the house grow empty and abandoned before your very eyes. Will the Brantes ever return to this home? Will you ever see it again? Nathan Brante. Davvon Jr. You turn around and look behind you as you carry your belongings to the gate. The hunched, hapless silhouettes of your younger brother appears on the steps. Nathan hurries towards you. Okay, he hurries towards me. By the will. This event is the consequence of your previous actions. Okay. Your younger brother stands before you, clutching an old prayer book. He speaks... What? Sentence structure! He sighs deeply, then begins to speak. Nathan Brante. I know you're in a hurry, Davvon Jr. I'll try not to take too much of your time. As you know, my faith has wavered all my life. The twins know how much I've sinned. But even in my darkest hour, I knew they hadn't turned away from our world. I knew they still cared. Nathan is quiet for a moment, watching a tiny ant make its way across the porch. Nathan Brante. I just can't understand, no matter how hard I try, what's happening to us. This revolt against the Empire, how did the twins let it happen? Is this even possible? I mean, the twins made the whole world as part of their design, didn't they? Does that mean the entire world is about to fall apart? This revolt, what is it? Please help me understand. Nathan's sullen gaze rises toward the shining pillar, but thick gray clouds are already moving towards the city. The shining strip at the edge of the sky is growing dimmer by the second. You watch the sky too, lost in thought. What will you tell him? The revolt is a challenge against the Jot. The revolt is a threat to their design. Walk away without giving Nathan an answer. The twins, the world is corrupt and unjust. The only way to get them to listen is by challenging their will. Okay, we're gonna go with this one because I want to be on the side of the revolt. Everybody knows to this point in the playthrough, I've always been on the side of the revolt. You ponder Nathan's question for a while, then answer. The gods no longer hear our pleas. They filled the world with people and bent it to their design, but that was long ago. As the world evolved, their divine design began to falter. The Emperor's eternal rule, the 3 estates, 3 lots. Our lives can no longer conform to these claustrophobic old rules. But the gods cannot discern our minuscule woes from up there on the peak of the pillar. They have no idea how broken their design has become. There's only one way to make the twins pay attention to the woes of the world they created, by offering them a challenge, a revolt, in opposition to their will. This is the only way to change our lives for the better. Therefore, the coming revolt is a great boon. Nathan averts his gaze as he listens to you, staring down at the dirt beneath his feet. At last, he manages to look you in the eye. Nathan Brante. You've always had a way with words, Davvon Jr., but this? I just can't believe it. I can't believe the humans or Archnians can speak to the twins as equals. Now I fear the gods will never hear us, our prayers, our threats, or our tears. I've been trying to find an answer for so long, but it's all been for nothing. The glow of the pillar is barely visible in the gloomy sky, but Nathan is not looking at it anymore. You leave him sitting on the porch, his eyes downcast, clutching his knees. A broken little man who never found a place in the great design. Nathan Brante. I'm sorry for wasting your time, Davvon Jr. You can go. Nathan Brante was consumed by despair. Honestly, in the grand scheme of things, Nathan seemed like a lost cause, and I don't know how I could have done better other than to cater my playthrough entirely towards him. He's like that little kid that needs his hand held throughout his entire life, and I can't just make my entire playthrough centered around him. He just needs to kick himself in the ass. Escape from Manazon. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. Okay. The house where you were born and raised is empty now. All the supplies, clothes, and valuables you need for the journey have been packed into an inconspicuous-looking carriage. The horses neigh nervously at every sound, every shout echoing down the street. Father puts on a heavy lock on the gate of the house. He takes one last look at the estate with its covered windows and boarded-up doors, then turns to you, Robert Brante. We're ready, son. It's time to go. We'd better hurry. The insurgents have already taken the city great. I'm afraid it won't be easy to get out of Manazon. Your carriage hurtles down the perilous streets. Places and faces flash outside the small windows. You see You see bands of armed commoners, preachers with crowds gathering around them. Nobles on horseback scrambling to defend their homes. Robert, oh, my voice. Yes, did you guys hear that right there? My voice literally just gave out. We're gonna tough through this, but oh my God. Robert Brante, I never thought I'd have to abandon our home, to leave our city behind, lost in chaos and confusion. What happened to our world, Davvon Jr.? Is everything really going to change? The city gate grows closer. Your path is blocked by a hastily erected barricade. A cordon of stone-faced commoners stand before it. They are armed not with knives and clubs, but muskets. One of them shouts an order as soon as he spots the carriage. The guards train their weapons on you. Friedman Schmidt. Hey you, the rich folks in the carriage, turn around and go back. The people control the gate now. Or maybe you think we might let one little noble slip through so you can hightail it to the Legion and the Overseer and beg for help? I don't think so. Now beat it and pray for the twins we don't get you. With a dozen muskets trained on the carriage, you have no choice but to stop. Robert Brante. What were we thinking? We should have seen this coming. But these guards don't exactly look like saints. We can't force our way through. But maybe we can somehow convince them, somehow. Or bribe them. What should we do, Davvon Jr.? Attack the guards? All right. I'm gonna say this now. I'm pretty sure this is the end of our lives. But I am not going to sit here and have my family die within the city. If me dying a permanent death means that my family escapes, then so be it. This might be the end, but we'll go down with our sword ringing. We are apparently invincible, remember this. You answer, Father, readily, your voice ringing with cold steel. You will break through the gates, whatever it takes. It is time to summon your troops. Your carriage turns around and leaves, but just stops just out of earshot of the gates. You send out a messenger with a note. Before long, a squad of fighters loyal to you approaches the gate. You order the squad to clear a path to the gate, if just for a short time. Attack. The horses' hooves thunder. Iron clanks and rattles. Gunshots rumble. The rebels barely have time for a single salvo before the riders' advance forces them to scatter. The path is clear, but the surviving guards are already calling furiously for backup. Hurry, get it open! The gates swing open with a groan. The carriage containing your family dashes past the carnage and disappears beyond the city walls. Robert Brante. Davvon Jr.! There is no time to respond. More gunfire. A bullet buzzes over your head, pulverizing a nearby wall. More or less straw insurgents are heading this way to seal the gate. There is no way to hold this position. You must retreat. Spread out! Your squad obeys your command and retreats down alleyways. You are right behind them. You can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Your family is safe. You know you will see them again. Surely this cannot be your last goodbye, without so much as a single word of farewell. You will see them again. You have to. But right now, you are alone in a city in turmoil. Hey, I mean, give and take. Oh, the family has fled. Okay. Okay, we are not dead yet. We are not dead yet. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. From this playthrough on forward, I am playing with my last life. Like, I'm gonna gamble it away. It's just the way it's gonna be. I'm sorry. If you guys don't want me to die here, I'm probably gonna disappoint. Mustering the Forces. The crimson sun slowly rises above the horizon. You make your way through a city in chaos, carefully observing what is happening on the streets. The rebellion is flaring up again after a night of calm. Once again, the commoners are taking to the squares in droves. The grim resolve in the rebels' eyes speak volumes. They are determined to seize their freedom or die trying. There are others, however, who are huddling inside their homes, locking their doors and praying to survive the revolt unscathed. With every passing minute, you see more and more people carrying banners. They bear a hand clutching a lantern, the mark of the last straw. The conspirators have left the shadows at last. They hand out guns to the common folk, using those last precious minutes to quickly teach them how to fire them. The artisans are out on the streets too, cobbling together makeshift shields out of wood and nails to protect against the nobles and their blades. Fortunately for the rebels, the nobles remain divided. The old noble bloodlines have sided with Dorius Otten. The Archnean has sworn to bring down the revolt by any means necessary. His noble militia now stands guard in the Silver District, where the city's most eminent aristocrats have their homes. They represent the greatest threat to the revolt. Many nobles of the mantle, however, were all eager to violate their oath of fealty and side with the rebels. Though ennobled to serve the Empire, they no longer want to suffer under the boot of the highborn Archneans and human gentry. But there are many more who are still undecided. Soldiers and low-ranking officers of the Legion, from the city's garrison officials and functionaries. They have all found themselves caught between the Overseer's orders and the people's revolt. Many of them are biding their time, hoping the Legion or the Prefecture will spring into action and quell the unrest. But the Prefecture has yet to react. The city prefect, Sir L. Bourne, still has not made it clear which side he is on. Even the clergy has been swept up in the strife. Abbot Leonard is gathering new believers for a procession to the Silver Tree, where the people will elect a new patriarch. Old believer priests and common folks who prefer to cling to the lots and save their souls stand in opposition. Even the Inquisition, whose duty is it to protect the Church of the Twin Gods against heresy, has been tainted by this schism. The true fight for the Manazon will begin in the matter of hours. You have had 8 years to curry influence among the people of this city. It is time to put your connections to the test. Who can you sway to your side? Who will be willing to sacrifice their lives and fight for your cause? Path of the Nobleman, Tomas's new life. There are officers and soldiers of the Legion garrison in the city. They are all but ready to fight for the... We're going to do this one. You head for the armory. The main forces of the Legion are still several hours' march from the city. The soldiers stationed here must be wavering. They may yet join the revolt. Soon you reach the ancient barracks, built of ruddy stone. The Legion soldiers standing guard around it are exhausted and anxious after a sleepless night. They will not trust an unfamiliar face. However, some of them recognize you. It's Judge Brante! Let him in! The air around the barracks is thick with alarm and unease. The officers are forming squads to head out and break up the crowds. But the soldiers are already on the verge of a full-blown mutiny. The only thing keeping them in check is an age-old fear of their betters. You waste no time. In the middle of the square, in front of the armory, is a platform. You leap onto it and address the soldiers of the Empire. Warriors of the Legion, Davvon Jr. Brante, the defender of the common people against the Archnean elite, has something to say. You know what happened to Tomas Guerrero, the Legion captain who was rescued from Commander Otten's clutches? You have their attention now. Many of them are aware of Tomas and his plight. You continue your impassioned speech, their eyes trained on you. Captain Guerrero was a soldier just like you. Have you all earned a military rank and the right to serve just to grovel in the dirt before the Archneans? You are nobles of the mantle, but the Imperial authorities will continue to treat you like dishonorable rabble until you force them to reckon with you. Today is the day when the soldiers must join the people and cast off the chains of Archnean tyranny. A furious shout cuts your tirade short. The garrison commander has had enough. An enraged old nobleman jabs a gnarled finger at you. Legion captain. Traitor, you dare call yourself a nobleman? Seize him now. You are servants of the Emperor. The soldiers do not budge. They watch you intently, waiting for your response. Legion Captain. That's an order! Are you deaf or just stupid? You cast an arm forward and bellow. Down with tyrants! Kill him! A legionnaire's sword pierces the old nobleman's chest. He collapses to the ground with a heavy thud, like a sack of old clothes. Slowly his body dissolves in a shimmering ash. The old officer still had lives to spare, but by the time he returns to the living, history will have been written about without him. The invisible fetters of terror that once bound the legionnaires have been shattered. They make quick work of the remaining officers. After the mutiny, many soldiers throw away their uniforms and flee, but the rest of them line up in front of you. The legionnaires bang their swords against their shields. You command them now. They have only one goal: to put an end to the old regime. Do you have what it takes to realize their hopes and guide them to victory? It is time to find out. The sound of gunfire fills the city streets once again. The lull has passed. The rebel event has happened. Side with the revolt. You take the side of the revolt. We are insurgents! Page flip. Nope. Victory conditions. Peaceful, rebel, leading the revolt. Revolt. Okay, troops. You succeed, Sophia. Peaceful victory. We have to. Okay, so I have to succeed Sophia. Okay. I have to eliminate her somehow, and I don't know how. We'll figure it out. So Sophia ended up being an obstacle in the end anyway. A fading light. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. Path of the Nobleman. The sun rises higher and higher. Your carriage is hurtling down the street, making its way through the crowd with a great difficulty. Many barricades have appeared overnight, made of old boards and rotten trash. You have to face the prefecture as soon as you can. The guards and judges' reaction to the revolt could be decided at any moment. Any word from Sir Alborn? No, even the slightest sign from him could determine their allegiance. The Silver District is empty now, populated only by searing winds sweeping light debris across the cobblestones. You smell smoke. The noble house must have been set on fire nearby. You hear hooves clattering in the distance. There is not a soul around. All you can hear is a fountain burbling in a small square, mixed with gentle melodic laughter. You yell for the carriage to stop. Those graceful movements, that clothing so light and airy, that thin, slender figure playing and splashing in the water. The rays of the sun dance and glitter on its golden skin. That hot, carefree day flashes before your eyes. The sound of the carriage on the cobblestones, the handkerchief dropped on the ground. Does Octavia still remember how you first met? This creature, does it still have anything in common with the prideful Arcanian lady you met here all those years ago? The creature that was once Octavia is laughing as though she cannot see the ruined streets around her. You come closer. You feel oh, geez. Yeah, choking on phlegm. You feel a strange, involuntary sense of calm next to this bizarre creature. There can be no hatred in her presence, no pain, no suffering. She raises her large, pitch-black eyes to you. Her voice rings with genuine elation. Octavia. Do you see it all crumbling now? It's the old world dying, collapsing under its old weight. Do not fear it. It's not a bad thing. This is how it has to be. You live in the dream of the one called Octavia Melanides, human who bears the name of Brante. This dream will end soon, and then it will be all gone. Your empire, your estates, your lots, your shining pillar. And you, human named Brante, will be gone too, and the great mind of La Tari will leave this dream and move on. Beyond all borders, beyond all limits. What great joy that moment will bring us. The creature that was once Octavia stretches her thin arms toward the horizon, where smoke already wafts against the backdrop of the sky. The screams of the rioting crowd are drawing closer. This being is not of this world and is utterly helpless, especially here in Manazon in the middle of the rebellion. The fate of the woman you knew as Octavia Melanides is in your hands now. Cannot do that one. Don't really care. Honestly, don't really care. Part ways with her. Bye! Her large, black eyes are watching you, but you remain silent. Whatever connection you had to Octavian Melandus, it is gone now. The fate of this bizarre creature is none of your concern. She can follow her inscrutable path on her own. The creature that was once Octavia hangs her head in sorrow. Ex-Octavia. The saddest thing about the death of this world human named Davvon Jr. Brante is that you are so tightly bound to it. You will burn along with it. It will mourn you as you fade away. Goodbye forever. The thin, slender, ethereal figure hops from the edge of the fountain and onto the cobblestones. She turns her back on you and walks down an empty street. The eerie calm she emanated remains with you for a while, but soon dissipates. Only the acrid smell of smoke remains. You shake your head and wrench yourself back to reality. Elborn, the prefecture. You need to hurry. What now? Sir Elborn's choice. This event is a consequence of your previous actions, the path of the nobleman. Okay. It is noon. A large crowd is gathered in the prefecture square. The guards form a line in front of the stairs, clutching their cudgels nervously. The commoners keep coming. The mobs keep growing. They call out to the windows of the prefecture. Their screams are deafening. Elborn sides with the people. Guards, judges, join us. The people need you. It's now or never. The rebelling citizens demand that the prefect take a side. The decision must not be made without you. You have to get inside. You push your way through the dense crowd until you reach the guards. Captain Linad. Oh, Sir Brante, I thought you'd been captured. Men, let the judge through. Tell the judges to make up their minds. The people haven't attacked us yet, but you never know. The main hall of the prefecture is stuffy and crowded. The din of the voices is as loud here as is outside. Almost every judge in the province is here now, save for those who stayed home or fled the city in advance. Most of them demand that the prefect disperse of the crowd. Augustine Elborn is on the podium in the courtroom, looming over the indignant judges. Augustine Elborn. No, I will not sick the gods on the people. It is the prefecture's duty to listen to the emperor's subject, not force them to be silent. If we disperse this crowd, it will only fan the flames. Arlo Fockergraben. And what of the overseer's orders, Sir Prefect? We have to quash the revolt while we still can. Tell the guards to do their duty and protect the city from these riots. Or do you want this so-called people's court to hang us all? Have you forgotten about the last straw on that freak Sophia? You're executing people left and right as though they're wielding the divine law. Do you really think you'll be spared? The judges applaud Fockergraben, even those you believe to be Prefect's most ardent supporters. Augustine Elborn. This unrest needs to be quelled with words, not clubs. If we turn this demonstration into a bloodbath, there will be no stopping the carnage. Elborn tries to respond, but cries of outrage drown out his words. What? Oh, I pissed him off. Damn it. Well, I'm screwed. The prefect frowns in consternation. The wrinkles on his forehead grow deeper. He casts another glance around the courtroom and notices you standing in the doorway. You look away from Elborn. This decision falls on the prefect and the rest of the judges. You are staying out of this. Man, we had such a good relationship. The judge and the prefect are just going around in circles. They make the same arguments over and over again. Even the stateliest judges are shouting now. Finally, Elborn loses his patience and pounds the top of the podium with his fist. Augustine Elborn. I am still prefect of Magra. The guards will not attack the people. This is my final decision. Now, please, good judges, quit your bickering and do your jobs. The courtroom falls silent. Arlo Fockergraben. Elborn, you have the power to uphold law and order in Manazon, but you're afraid of your own power. Afraid to give a simple order. You're a coward. Elborn's face grows red. He leaps from behind the podium. Captain Linad suddenly barges into the courtroom. The sounds of screams and clattering hooves fill the room. Captain Linad. The riders are coming. It's Auden and his noble militia. Uh-oh. Hey, what time is it now? Daytime. Prefecture under siege. The searing sun looms high in the sky above the rebellious city. The square in front of the prefecture is packed with commoners. Just a moment ago, they boldly demanded that the judges and guards side with the rebellion, but now they are terrified. They fear the noble army that is coming for them. Their calls for rebellion are gone, replaced by frightened screams. Hooves thunder under the cobblestones. The earth quakes beneath their feet. The noble militia led by Dorius Otten carves a path through the human sea. The terrified rebels scatter as the riders approach. The guards remain where they are, forming a tight circle around the prefecture in Elborn. The prefect calls out to the crowd, his voice hoarse. Augustine Elborn. Everyone stay calm, let them through. Do not draw your weapons. Otten's riders push the mob aside and eventually reach the tall building. The Arcanian commander draws in his reins only when the guards are all that separate him from the prefecture stairs. Dorius Otten. Prefect Elborn, how dare you disobey the orders of this province's rightful rulers? You have abused your position to appease the rebels and defy imperial rule. This inconceivable rebellion is your fault. It's time for you to accept your well-earned punishment. In the name of Archduke Melanidas, I hereby order you and your guards to surrender your weapons. The supreme judge of the prefecture maintains his composure in the face of this recrimination. Augustine Elborn. I only obey the laws of the Empire, Sir Otten, not you or your runaway Archduke. Otten's face contorts into a predatory grin. Dorius Otten. Excellent, you had your chance to save your face, old man. Instead of a dignified execution, you and your cronies will hang like the foul rabble you've betrayed us for. Otten lifts his sword skyward, prepared to order an assault. The riders behind him are about to attack. The guards ready their clubs. Their hands are trembling. They will not stand a chance against the noble cavalry. The mob begins to shift, about to flee the square. The fate of this moment hangs by a thread. Yes! Get Otten's army to abandon him. Easy, let's go! Thank God. To everyone's surprise, you walk confidently through the ranks of the guards. The riders notice your raised arm and rein in their horses. The noblemen know who you are. You begin to speak, not to Otten, but to the militia. By the verdict of the Imperial Court, Otten has been stripped of his rank in disgrace. He no longer has any right to command the militia. The law of the Empire is spoken. Why are they defying it? Flabbergasted at your audacity, Otten makes his horse prance, a menacing sight. Dorius Otten. Once a filthy commoner, always a filthy commoner, eh, Brante? Your preposterous verdicts mean nothing to true noblemen, and they never will. You only grin at his words. True noblemen are free to make up their own minds. Otten is not their master. The rider grips their reins, hesitating. You speak to them. Soon the city of Manazon will have a new order and new laws. There is no stopping it. Why follow a criminal and a fool who doesn't give a damn about their future? The revolt is about to prevail, and when it does, all who opposed it will hang. But those who accept the new order and fight for it will be pardoned. You swear on your noble honor. Augustine Elborn. I vouch for the words of Judge Brante as the prefect of Magara. Surrender to us, good sirs, and your lives will be spared. Dorius Otten. Shut your traitorous mouth. Follow me, men. Cut these rebels down. The proud Arcanian lifts his sword skyward and rushes at the guards. Not one cavalryman follows him. Otten smashes into the guards alone. He slices left and right with desperation, so fierce it almost seems as though he might be able to break through the guards' defense single-handedly. But not even his skill as a swordsman is enough to oppose a company of trained men. In the end, Otten finds himself knocked from his saddle and shackled. Dorius Otten. Cowards! Turncoats! You're begging for mercy from this pitiful rabble? You'll die in dishonor and suffer forever at the foot of the pillar. But the noble militia has already made its decision. Their commander has been disgraced and the morale has crumbled. The riders surrender their arms. Otten will not receive the same mercy. Augustine Elborn. After his prior crimes, Dorius Otten committed new offenses against the subject of the Empire. His final trial awaits. The prefect turns to you. Augustine Elborn. Judge Brante, you are familiar with Sir Otten's crime? What is your verdict? You pronounce your sentence. Auden is hereby sentenced to death by hanging. Let the people of Manazon see that there is one law for all. The mob around you explodes with elation at your words. Auden is stunned, shocked, unable to believe what is happening. He does not even struggle when the guards throw the noose around his neck. The final realization dawns on the Archaean nobleman at the very last moment. For the first time, terror flashes in his eyes. Dorius Auden. Brante. His neck snaps with a sickening crunch. Dorius Auden falls silent. Forever. Cries of victory fill the square. You have executed not just an enemy of the revolt, but an Archaean and the former High Commander of Magra. Your verdict inspires the people with a sense of solidarity. In the blink of an eye, they arm themselves with wooden clubs, heavy sticks, and makeshift spears. The most audacious among them awkwardly trying the noble surrendered swords. The common people form squads and choose you as their commander. But it is far too early to celebrate. You've only fought off one assault. Prefect Alborn finds you in the boisterous crowd. Augustine Alborn. Davvon Jr., your courage has saved the prefecture. I'm with you until the end. Whatever you need from me, you will have it. We need to hurry now. The noble militia we've seen in the city pales in comparison to the forces of the Legion. I'll gather our forces at the prefecture and establish a unified command structure. You should find Abbot Leonard and aid him in any way you can. His procession must be en route to the Silver Tree by now. The enemies of the new faith are waiting there, weapons in hand. They'll massacre each other if we don't stop them, Brante. The city is a powder keg with a short fuse. More fire and blood is the last thing we need. What we need is more allies. Having Leonard on our side is crucial. We need a spiritual leader who can unite the city against the Legion. I don't know about this one. You nod to Alborn. The fate of the feud between the two faiths hangs by the clash of the Silver Tree. You have to be there. You wish the prefect best of luck with his work, then muster your loyal forces and head for the temple. Easy. Power +2, order +1. Revolt +1, troops +1, nobles +1. We are dominating this situation right now. Next page. My throat, dude, my throat. The March of the New Faith. An enormous sea of humanity flows through Manazon, filling the streets of the Temple District. They are led by Abbot Leonard. The new believers walk peacefully behind him, many of them women and the elderly. They are unarmed. Their faces show neither fear nor anger. They are so drastically unlike the throngs of rebels who are currently ransacking streets and looting noble houses. The procession slowly makes its way toward the temple at the Silver Tree. The temple has always been where the patriarchs of the church accept their sacred duty, along with the heavy burden of responsibility for their flock before the twin gods. When a patriarch speaks, the twin pays heed. And every 8 years it falls upon the patriarch to proclaim it their sight how their world is humbly following the lot it has been given. Long after the twins descended to our world, the patriarchs came to be elected at the conclave by the clergy. This tradition has continued for many years. Today, dozens of priests have come to the temple in spite of the unrest to conduct the rite and spare the twins' world from their wrath. But now thousands of commoners are walking to the same temple to elect the new patriarch themselves. I need a drink. Now, the whole religious aspect of the side, I don't care about. You and your followers take a side street to the temple, avoiding the immense procession. Soon the square by the tree is packed, teeming and overwhelmed. But the stairs to the temple doors cannot be reached. A stalwart phalanx of champions of faith blocks the way, with Jian in the lead. They are joined by the Inquisitors, those who have decided to walk the path of the old faith until the very end. Jian. I will not allow you into the temple, Leonard. These heretics will not make you patriarch. Father Leonard slowly begins to ascend the stairs. He does not argue with Jian. The abbot simply faces her with a humble smile and gestures at the people standing behind him. Doubt clouds the champions' faces. Leonard's procession is truly staggering. Even if they are mere commoners, even if they are unarmed and empty-handed, there are simply too many of them to be stopped by a few dozen old believers. Father Leonard. Sister Jian, look at them. Are they truly heretics? All of them? They are just people, our brothers and sisters in the faith. Why would the Inquisition treat us like enemies? We do not reject the twin gods. Nay, we seek them with our every thought. Again, I apologize. We're well past the hour of my throat, and my reading ability just plummets. Jian, you rejected the law of the younger when you chose to seek our own lots. Father Leonard. No, Jian, the only thing we reject is Insatius' heirs. Jian, this argument has been going on for years, Leonard. I know each and every point you can make. Don't even bother. You will not enter the temple. And all these people, you're just dragging them down to the foot of the pillar along with you. How can you still not understand this after so many years? What do you think you're doing, Leonard? Don't you fear the wrath of the gods? Father Leonard, I do not, Jian. When I become patriarch, I will tell the twins that we still love and revere them, just as we always have, even as we seek a different path to them. The twins will hear us. They will listen. They will understand. There will be no wrath of the gods. The new believers heed Leonard's words. They begin to firmly ascend the stairs to the door of the temple. The champion swords do not deter them. Jian watches the massive congregation approach her. Her eyes filled with remorse. She raises an arm, about to give her final order. Jian, champions of faith, protect the sacred temple, fight to the bitter end. You reach the foot of the stairs as she speaks these words. This is your last chance to intervene. Save, you need to try to get these people away from the temple. Save the new believers from bloodshed. Okay, I'm going to try that one. As many lives as I can save, I'm going to. Hopefully this doesn't end in my death. There can never be peace between the Inquisition and the new believers. Sister Jian is right. The dispute between them has been going on for years. Neither side will yield to the other. Right now there is only one thing you can do. Rescue as many of them as you can from what is to come. You gesture to your followers hurriedly. Spread out and guide the people away from here as many as you can. Jian. Go, in the name of the younger. The champions of faith obey Jian's order. They get into formations and begin advancing on the new believers, weapons in hand. The unarmed mob recoils in fear, but those in the front row are pushed from behind and driven into the blades. Blood splatters onto the stairs of the sacred temple. A woman's voice lets out a shrill scream. Panic spreads throughout the mob like wildfire. Chaos fills the minds of women and men. They begin pushing, pulling, dashing, recoiling like frightened animals, and the warriors of the church keep advancing, unrelenting and lethal. Your men have reached the edges of the square. They try to guide the new believers down the back alley, shouting, "Here! Over here!" But for many of them, it is already too late. A mighty gust of wind rushes over the square. It roars, howls, almost screams filled with remorse, agony, and wrath. The earth begins to tremble beneath your feet. Before your very eyes, as though in some terrible nightmare, the roof of the sacred temple begins to shake, and the pillars start to sway back and forth. Jian, no! The world is turned upside down, like a massive kaleidoscope shaken by a massive hand. For several seconds, everything blends together. You fall flat on your back. Slowly, you come to your senses. You're surrounded by dozens of bodies and chunks of rock. What the? Where the temple of the silver tree once stood, there is nothing. The grand majestic structure is no more. It has been leveled to the ground. Remnants of its walls and roofs are scattered across the square. The stairs that once led to it have been ground into the gravel. A cloud of dust slowly settles upon the square. After the dust comes the leaves. Thousands and thousands of leaves shed by the silver tree. They cover the corpses of the truly dead like a pale white shroud. The entire square glows as the bodies of those yet to be reborn dissolve into nothingness. There are so many that the light stings your eyes, even through the thick dust that still hangs over it all. Just how many people met their deaths today? Sister Jian and her warriors are gone, buried beneath the rocks. The order of the Inquisition in Manazon is finished. You stagger to your feet and go to where you last saw Father Leonard. You soon spot the edge of his once white cassock, pinned by a chunk of broken pillar. It takes all your strength to roll the heavy stone away and drag the abbot out from underneath the rubble. Leonard is wounded, but conscious. He looks around, trying to understand what has happened, and slowly falls to his knees. A loud groan escapes his lips. Blood and tears trickle down Leonard's face, mixing together. The abbot chokes out the dust. His eyes are fixed on the ruins of what was once his temple, the barren branches of the trees, piercing the sky like swords. Father Leonard, I was wrong. I was wrong. The gods, they wouldn't listen to us. They rejected our faith. What do I do now, Davvon Jr.? What do I do now? A temple, how will we live now? There's no hope left. This is the end. Leonard's words become incoherent, descending into frantic babble. You speak to the abbot, trying to console him. All is not lost. You managed to save many people. You are not sure he can hear you now. But you cannot wait for him to come to his senses. You have to take the lead, so you begin mustering your forces and getting ready to move to the Empire Square. The enormous crowds of people are already on their way there, about to choose the leader of the Manazon rebellion. The sun slowly begins to set. What happened to Jian? True death. Yes! Didn't like her anyway. Order -1. Discontent. Revolt +1. Bloodbath. Yay! Bloodbath! Clergy +1. Trust. Willpower -5. At least we have plenty of willpower to do whatever we wish. Evening. We've almost made it to the end, guys. We've almost done the impossible and survived. I'm not counting my chickens before they hatch, though. The rebel leader. The sun is setting. The blood-red sky quivers, and the hot smoke from the fires raging throughout the city. You cannot help but recall passages from the lives of the twins, one of the many pages Mother used to quote when you were a child. And the elder said, "Lo, I have cast a flame into the world, and I shall guard it until it begins to blaze." Before I continue, one sec, I gotta check my destiny. Peace with the Overseer. This is what I want. Power equals 3 + 3 + 4. Overseer Guy's Tempest is forced to accept the demands of the revolt. How do I get more power? Surrender. -3, -4, +3 + 4. Common folk equal 3. Let me see where I'm sitting right now with the... Okay, that's not what I wanted. The revolt. Here we go. Revolt is at 9, which is good. Clergy, rebel. What about my personality? No, that's not what I want. Loss of Brante, family, relationships, occupation, the province. Power +2. We need one more power, right? That's what we want. More power. I wonder if I can get one more power before the end of this. We'll give it a try. Either way, let's just see what happens. Let's play it through. The sun is setting. Oh, I already read this. Could this passage be referring to today? You lead your followers to Empire Square. You walk around rubble, past abandoned carriages and unfinished barricades. There have clearly been clashes here recently. The dust of the departed is still rising into the sky. Thousands fill the square before the Chancellery. Well over half the commoners of Manazon. The Chancellery has been under rebel control since noon. All Imperial officials either fled or were torn apart by the mob. Scraps of rumors and gossip reach your ears as you move closer. You hear what happened at the Great Tree? It's the Inquisitors. They just started slaughtering folks. They grabbed their swords and It's the Inquisitors. They started slaughtering folks. They grabbed them swords of theirs and started killing unarmed people. Leonard's procession made it into the temple. There was a sign from the twins. All lies. The twins got angry and destroyed them all under the tree. The temple's gone, I tell you, gone for good. The crowd is on edge. Any dispute could explode into a brawl. A voice from the Chancellery stairs calls for another people's court. Mobs turns as one. Several last straw rebels drag a handful of well-dressed nobles out to the steps and force them to their knees. The leader of the executioners is a preacher with a mane of unkempt hair and the wild eyes of a lunatic. Father Fuad. The younger, he speaks through us, he does. He gave us the power of his law. The law, he says, the power to punish our enemies, to execute them. Anyone stands in our way is an enemy of the twins themselves. People, it's time to judge these enemies of simple folk. What is your sentence? The mob roars so loudly, the square shakes. Death! True death! The last straw rebels ready their guns. One of the captives gets to his feet and speaks out defiantly. Friedrich L. Liberius. You dare call this pathetic freak show a people's court? You don't have the power. You never have and you never will. You think you can wield the law of the twins? Bah! You'll come back and we'll make you pay. The aged nobleman's last words are drowned out by a thunderous volley of gunfire. One by one, the nobles collapse and their bodies pierced by bullets. They remain where they fall. The mob gasps in amazement. There can be no doubt. The People's Court has the power to mete out true death at will. Father Fawad, this is what happens to anyone who dares to oppose us. All hail the revolt. All hail our leader. All hail Sophia. Sophia's gonna lead us. She's gonna fend off the Legion. Gonna bring justice first to Manazon, then to the whole empire. Gonna dare down the old ways and wipe all them tyrants and nobles from the face of the world. The mob explodes in ecstatic chant. They shout one word over and over again. Sophia! Sophia! The enormous throng bellows wildly, eager to see the face of its leader. Oh, I can't take control of the revolt. Give me a second to check my destinies, because I don't think I can take over the revolt. What happens if I fail to achieve another outcome? Legion is defeated. I have to lead the revolt for that. The surrender of the revolt. The only way something good comes out of this is if I lead the revolt. I'm gonna not get involved and see what happens. Because we'll see what happens. I'm not gonna get involved. You keep your men away from the crowd and observe the situation from afar. The matter will be decided without your interference. The door of the chancellery swings open, and Sophia emerges before the thousands of people gathered in the square. Her silhouette seems to blaze in the light of the setting sun. She raises a clenched fist in the air, demanding silence. The enormous crowd instantly ceases its murmuring. The voice of the leader of the revolt rings with frigid fury. Sophia, people of Anazot, today is not only the day we took up arms and cast off our shackles. Today is the first day of a new era. We will begin by taking back our city. We will eliminate anyone who dares to stand in our way. Then we will declare war against the old regime, against the entire empire. No mercy! Upon hearing these words, even the most frantic rebels fall silent. A frightened murmur ripples through the crowd. Is Sophia asking them to take on the entire world? Sophia lifts her hands high. Her eyes gleam with yellow light. The mob involuntarily grows quiet and watches his leader rapt with attention. Sophia's golden glow is reflected in thousands of eyes. Sophia, that's right. War! No mercy, nobles, defenders of the old faith, the tyrants of the old regime. They will all be executed by the People's Court. Every single enemy of the Anazot revolt will be eliminated. Arm yourselves. Find and execute our enemies before the Legion reaches the city. And then when the bell tolls, go to the walls. We will unite the entire city and take our freedom by force. The people echo Sophia's cry. Artisans, merchants, peasants from the outskirts of Anazot. They all take up arms and join the ranks of the last straw. The crowd storms the streets, ready to unleash its wrath against temples and noble houses alike. You lead your supporters out of the square. The time for the last battle has come. The watchmen inform you that the Legion is only a few hours away. Will the outcome of the revolt be decided in combat, or is there a peaceful solution? It all depends on the actions you take in the coming hours. All right, well, let's see what happens. We are towards the end. Will we survive our playthrough? The final hour. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. Conditions meant. The rebel. It is mere moments from midnight. The glow of the shining pillar is barely visible behind the crimson clouds coming from the north. But the darkness hanging above the city is dissipated by countless lights. Crowds of people holding torches, stakes burning in the squares, houses in flames. The glow of fires can also be seen from beyond the city walls. The Legion marches down the road, inexorably approaching the gate of a city in the throes of rebellion. The final battle draws near. All the forces that have chosen to defy the Overseer and the Empire flock to the gate, where you have set up your base. The soldiers of the last straw assemble commoners into squads and hastily arm them. Other rebels are led by nobles of the mantle and former members of the Legion who have joined the revolt. The priests who have sided with you will spread the word of the twins from the city walls, attempting to convince the Legion soldiers to retreat and allow the people of Anazot to be free of the lots. Preparations are also in full swing at the camp of the defenders of the Old Order, who have established a foothold in the ruins of Charmalandus' palace. Soon their fate will be decided. Will they crush the revolt with the aid of the Legion, or be crushed themselves by the new era? There is almost no time left, just enough for one last attempt to tip the scales in your favor. Will you spend this final hour appealing to one of your allies for help? Or would it be wiser to wait and muster your forces for the final battle? Will you attempt to defeat the Legion and the Overseer's army in combat, or will you persuade to retreat without engaging in battle? The fate of Anazot is in your hands. Go see Elborn. I think that's the best play I can make at this point. The final hour. There are many highborn families in Anazot that have not yet responded to Otten's appeal to join the noble militia. They have preferred to lock themselves up in their mansions and avoid waging war against the lowborn. They can still be won over to your side, but you will need help from a high-ranking nobleman. While there is still time, you take a few trusted men and head to the prefecture. Elborn greets you on the stairs, surrounded by guards. He accepts your request eagerly. Augustine Elborn. You're right, Brant. There are many nobles who are uncertain as to what fate will befall them if the revolt wins. We need to reassure them that if we win, we want to gain their support. With the help of the guards, you send out an appeal to all the noble houses you consider dependable. Elborn signs the letters to each family, personally. Augustine Elborn. Noble sirs, you know me as a man of honor. I have been a loyal servant to the Overseer, but my ultimate duty is to uphold the law and ensure justice for all estates. The high-handedness of the noble elite and their neglect of their lot, which is to rule the lowly estate with care and wisdom, has led the people of Anazot to the brink of despair. This is why I have sided with the revolt, and I encourage you to do the same. May it be known that once our victory has been achieved, none of you will face reprisal. I, Prefect Elborn, hereby swear that anyone who supports the revolt in word or deed will obtain a rightful place in the newly transformed city of Anazot. The messengers return one by one, bringing back news that noble families have agreed not to stand in the way of the revolt. Only a few of them leave Elborn's appeal unanswered. The support of the nobles will be of great value in the critical hours of the confrontation. Midnight strikes. You can hear the menacing tread of the Legion outside the city walls. Time has come. You order your troops to assemble and prepare to defend the wall. I was gonna say, don't freeze on me, game. The battle for Anazot. This event is a consequence of your previous actions. Revolt above 6 and Sophia leading the revolt. The battle for Anazot. The dark void beyond the walls of Anazot is lit by hundreds of lights. Heavy boots tread the soil. Armor clanks. Halberds gleam. Drums beat a lively march. Lit by the glow of the torches, the Magran Legion approaches the city wall. Gaius Tempest himself leads the Legion. It is the Overseer's duty to crush the revolt this very night and pacify the city before news of the incident spreads throughout the Empire. If the Overseer's hesitation allows the revolt to last even a few days, it could jeopardize not only his position, but even the fate of the entire province that has been entrusted to him. Before ordering an assault, the Overseer sends a message to the city. Gaius Tempest. My subjects, lay down your arms this instant and open the gates. I know that you have been deceived by the insurgency. You have my word as an Arcanian ruler that I will spare anyone who aids the Legion and turns over the leaders of the revolt. Should you disobey this order from your lawful ruler, none of you will escape disgrace, execution, and eternal torment at the foot of the Shining Pillar. But the Overseer's threat only enraged the rebels. An entire city rebelling against Imperial rule. Nothing like this has happened for generations. But not even experts in an ancient history could have imagined what is happening on the streets of Manazon at this moment. The decisions you made today have led the entire city to rise up against Imperial rule. By nightfall, everyone who has ever suffered from noble tyranny has taken to the streets in support of the last straw. Even those who have begun the day cowering in terror from the Overseer's wrath have now emerged from their homes and joined your cause. The commoners' fear has been eclipsed by their rage. They marched through the city in droves, ready to disperse their own justice. By sunset, even the most loyal defenders of the Empire have come to realize that all hope is lost. The Loyalists have amassed considerable forces at Shar Melandis' palace, but they are too late. Hordes of furious commoners storm their camp, crushing any resistance. Exhausted and demoralized by the futile fight, many defenders of the old order flee mob justice or surrender and accept their death with dignity. The moans of those trampled by the incensed throng can be heard throughout the camp. Abandoned Imperial banners are hurled into the fire. Sophia, make way! The crowd goes silent in parts before Sophia. The leader of the revolt is disheveled and her clothes stained with blood, but a predatory smile lingers on her face. Here, amidst fire and madness, she has finally found her place in the world. Sophia. Just look at your former masters now. Pathetic, aren't they? They thought they could put us in chains again, but they dropped their swords at the first sight of us. They lied to you for centuries, telling you it was your lot to suffer and break your back for them. But look who's suffering now. I give you my word, tonight we're gonna execute anyone who isn't on our side. Every single one of them. And then we'll feast among the ruins of the old world. The crowd roars, shaking their weapons in the air. Sophia. Now is the only thing standing between us and freedom is the Legion. Oh, I'm sorry. Sophia. Now the only thing standing between us and freedom is the Legion. But we'll take down the Overseer's troops like we took down the Emperor's lackeys here in Anazot. But first, we need to get rid of the rest of the enemies and traitors in this camp. Sophia takes a glance around the site of the recent massacre. Her merciless gaze stops at you. Uh-oh. Sophia, Brante. Time has come. This moment will determine your place in history. Stop the slaughter. Bye, Sophia. Oh my God. Oh my God, what do I choose? I'm not taking charge of the blood pass, so we either defy or we stop. Okay, hold on. Let me look at my destinies. Okay, so the city is defended. Our power is not great enough for peace with the Overseer. Legion has defeated the Anazot massacre. Dark times. Escape from the city. Okay, I'm sorry. We're doing it. We are going to defy Sophia or stop the slaughter. Stop the slaughter. We're going to stop the slaughter. We're going to try. I'm going to try this. Hopefully it works. As if oblivious to Sophia's order, you look around you, paralyzed. Fires have blanketed Manazon in acrid smoke. The noble district are in flames, as is the chancellery. The temples of the old faith are ablaze, and priests who refused to join the rebels are burned alive within. The bodies of those executed by firing squads lay in heaps by the walls. The cobblestones are littered with the corpses of those hurled from the windows of their own homes. What has become of your city? You turn your head slowly and meet Sophia's gaze again. She seems to sense your uncertainty. Sophia. What's the matter, Davvon Jr.? Feel sorry for him? The people who have been torturing simple folk like us for centuries. This ain't no time for hesitation. I guess I'd better handle the executions myself. The soldiers of the last straw dash through the wrecked camp and drag the survivors to one spot. High-ranking nobles, inquisitors, commoners from the enemy militia, they all thrown to the ground at Sophia's feet. Sophia. And you, take some men and get to the walls. The Legion is about to attack. You nod silently and gather your troops, but you have already made a different decision. You only take men you know to be loyal to you personally. You are certain that most of them will obey you rather than the mad Sophia. You lead your trusted warriors away from the camp. While marching down an empty street, you suddenly stop your squad and address them. You tell them they are not going to follow Sophia's orders. Is this what they are fighting for? Fire, blood, and murder? They have overthrown the nobles who have ruled over them. But who have they chosen to replace them? Sophia will only lead them to endless bloodshed and suffering. It is a road to nowhere. You do not deny that you were among those responsible for leading the revolt to this madness, but you were wrong. Your voice drowns out the gunshots that echo over and over again from the ruined camp. Your soldiers listen to you in confusion. Many of them grip their weapons. Casting away all fear, you continue. The purpose of this revolt was not to revel in revenge and destruction. For the first time in history, we are in position to lay the foundation for a new world. We can bring justice to everyone, establish equality among the estates, and free ourselves from the lots. But instead, we have only helped Sophia start a fire that will soon consume the entire city. Furrowing their brows, your soldiers agree. This is not the revolution they were fighting for. But what are they to do? The streets are teeming with raging crowds, mad with bloodlust. The entire city is on fire. You tell them your plan. Overseer Gaius Tempest has proclaimed that he will spare the people of Manazon if they open the gate. This is what you will do, even if some will call you traitors. You will return Manazon to its previous masters. It is better than seeing it razed to the ground. You will save your city, even if it means your true death. Your troops grimly clench their weapons. They will follow you to the end. Meanwhile, you hear the din of battle from the walls. Siege ladders fly up against the ramparts. The ground shakes with the heavy tread of the Legion's iron boots. You must hurry. You head toward the gate. When you reach the rebel camp by the gate, there is already a battle raging on the walls. The Legion's soldiers climb siege ladders beneath a hail of bullets, rocks, and arrows. Once they finally clamber to the top, they are met by the blades of bloodthirsty insurgents. The rebels fend off one wave after another in a desperate melee. All over the walls, the bodies of slain Imperial soldiers shimmer into oblivion as they fall. The rebels defending the gate from the rear cry out joyously upon seeing you. It's Brante and his men! Finally! Get to the walls, they're having a rough time up there! Once your entire squad is behind the fortified barrier, you suddenly order them to attack. Gunshots blare. Steel clanks against steel. You surprise the guards at the gate with a stab in the back, quickly disposing of them. But some manage to escape over the barricade. They yell desperately, Treason! Brante's betrayed us! You having a moment to lose, you lead your men to the gate. Your voice hoarse, you order them to defend the perimeter and open the gate. The gate begins to swing open with a groan. Having caught word of your betrayal, rebels rush from the walls. A bloody battle ensues. You have to hold out until the Legion comes through the gate. Your soldiers fight with their last ounce of strength, but the rebels massively overnumber you. One after another, your men fall to the ground. You will not be able to hold on much longer. Sophia. Traitors! Take them alive. Close the gate before it's too late. The elite last straw of fighters hasten to join the battle. They are led by Sophia herself, her eyes ablaze with furious yellow flame. A volley of gunfire rings out. Entire rows of soldiers fall. Your forces are barely able to stay in formation. But you have led the men here, and you will lead them until the end. You hold your ground with a battle cry. For Manazon! Fight to the death! At last, the gate is open. On the other side, you see the fluttering banners of the approaching legion. The shining pillar gleams in the heavens. The 1st Legion battalions are marching through. You did it! Gaius Tempest. Onward, men! Victory is at hand! You hear a furious shriek. You are blinded by a golden light. The flash seems to rupture your skull from inside. A strange voice commands you. Come! You are no longer in control of your own body. Unable to resist, you heed the call. It leads you right into Sophia's clutches. The battle is raging around you. Amidst the scurrying shadows and gunpowder smoke, you discern the glowing golden eyes you have known since you were a boy. Sophia. I hate you. A gunshot. A sharp pain pierces your thigh. Powerless, you fall to your knees. Sophia. We got Brante. Death to the traitor, execute him. Hurry! Strong arms grab you. You're surrounded by a horde of furious, blood-spattered last straw of fighters. You're finished, Brante. Execute him. Kill the traitorous scum. Quick, put him to trial. A group of rebels drag you behind a barricade. At Sophia's orders, you are forced to your knees. Her face is contorted by hatred and pain. Sophia. How could you, Davvon Jr.? How could you hand the city over to the enemy? Did you really think you could free the people without getting your hands dirty? You coward. You just didn't have the guts to see through this to the end. The other rebels urge Sophia to hurry. She glances around. The defenders on the walls are scattering around you, dropping their weapons. The Legion has entered the city and is taking the last of the barricades. The revolt is doomed. Entire squads of rebels are surrendering to the Legion. Sophia. Nobody move till we deal with the traitor. The gunmen quickly raise their muskets. Sophia. People of Manazon. Davvon Jr. is a traitor. He delivered you into enemy hands. What is your verdict? True death. Breaking through the dark, heavy clouds, the soft gleam of the shining pillar envelops you. The ground shudders beneath the heavy footsteps of the Legion as they restore law and order. You look back at the years gone by, all the difficult decisions you had to make, all the actions that you helped take your place in history. You don't hope for glory after death. You will still be seen as a rebel who cowardly betrayed his side. The Brante name will remain stained forever. But now, at your last breath, you know the truth. You have saved your city and perhaps the entire empire from mindless slaughter. Your destiny has been fulfilled. A gunshot. Head toward a blinding light. The revolt is defeated. True death.
The revolt was crushed. And it was I who restored order in Manazon. Mine was a victory for all of the Empire.
Outcome of the revolt. With your assistance, the Imperial Loyalists crushed the rebellion in a single night. After swiftly quelling the unrest in Manazon, apparently as it's pronounced, Overseer Gaius Tempest restored order within the city walls with an iron fist. The insurgents refused to submit to the Legion and paid in blood for their defiance. All the leaders of the revolt met their final deaths at the end of a noose. Many rank-and-file rebels also faced justice. They were arrested for carrying firearms, exposed by their neighbors, or driven to the authorities by their guilty consciences and the blood on their hands. The city quickly ran out of space for executions. The gallows in the main square spilled out onto nearby streets. The rebels' corpses were left swinging in the wind for a long time as a grim warning to all the people of Magra. After a swift victory, Gaius Tempest's authority grew stronger. His subjects had been pacified, and no one else had the nerve to lead an armed insurgency against his lawful rule. Once the rebellion was silenced, Magra finally entered an age of peace and calm. And yet the Overseer learned much from the lessons of the Anazot revolt. He saw what can happen when a ruler shows weakness and makes concessions to the lowly estate. From that point on, Gaius Tempest sought to preserve order and curtail all unrest at any cost. In time, the rest of the Empire came to the same conclusion. The order established by the twins must remain unchanged, and the entire Empire must abide by it in order to prevent more disturbances and provide peace and prosperity to its people. Power. The power struggle in the province was over, and Archduke Melanidas and the old gentry had prevailed. Well-versed in manner of plots and schemes, the Archduke secured himself in his castle and remained aloof from the events of the revolt, until the Empire's grasp on the province grew weak. As chaos followed in the wake of the revolt, the Archduke and his loyal followers among the oldest Archean dynasties in Magra confronted the Overseer over the Anazote revolt, and many other ordeals the province had endured over the last few years. With the last of his authority gone, Gaius Tempest had no choice but to return the Overseer's title to the Melanidas dynasty. The old elite gentry soon restored the rule of the ancient tradition in Magra. They flaunted imperial law and returned the province to the days of yore, when the noble dynasties ruled their domains as they saw fit. The clash between the old faith and the new continued. As the schism in the clergy grew, the people of Magra may remain similarly divided. Neither doctrine has enough power to prevail over the other. The venomous accusations and fervent disputes continue. The Inquisition is powerless to end the struggle. The strife between the faiths will continue to fester. The people of the province and the Empire will never be at peace until they decide which path of worship is the one that leads to the twins. Both of Magra, the changes that swept across Magra brought down the age-old barriers that held the common people back, paving way for trade and industry. The new freedoms have made Magra one of the most prosperous lands of the Empire, with new factories, mills, and trade routes appearing one after another. The city of Anazote soon becomes a vital trade hub, the only place to procure the best and newest commodities, tools, and factory equipment. The wealth of its citizens unrivaled throughout the Empire. After many long years of disorder and strife, the land of Magra finally found order and peace. The people grew weary of violence and turmoil of any kind. They came to respect the law, no longer feared to respect the law, and no longer fear to leave their homes. The chaos and hostility that once reigned are gone. The people of Anazote and Magra enjoy a long-awaited age of reconciliation. For many years after the revolt in Anazote, the people of the Empire told the tale of how the Elder Twin himself visited the mortal world once again. He donned the guise of a common mortal to seek the truth of his own creation and settle a dispute with the younger, but no one helped him find the answer he sought. And so, as the legend goes, the Elder Twin returned to the Shining Pillar, never to descend to the mortal realm again. Oof. What became of Dorius Otten? Until the very end, the Archean commander refused to acknowledge that the laws that govern the lowly lot held sway over him, and yet, thanks to you, he finally faced justice. The once renowned descendant of the Otten dynasty met an ignoble end at the gallows, a terrible blow from which his family never recovered. With the death of its last living son, the venerable Otten blood tide ran dry. What became of Augustine Elborn? Augustine Elborn never saw his lifelong dream come to fruition. The revolt crumbled, and the long-awaited change it promised was cut short. He joined the rest of Anazote's defender in the final fight. The prefect was captured and stripped of his noble title for the crime of treason, then hanged in disgrace. Elborn faced death with dignity and did not utter a single word of regret for what he had done. The former prefect is remembered as one of the leaders of the revolt, though he did not live long enough to witness the coming of a new age. What became of Father Leonard? As one of the leaders of the rebellion, Leonard saw no mercy from the Overseer. By the order of Gaius Tempest, he was arrested and handed over to the Inquisition. They branded the abbot a heretic and sentenced him to be burned at the stake. He faced his suffering and death with dignity, never renouncing his beliefs. Leonard is remembered by the new believers as the greatest preacher of his day. But among old believers, he left an undying legacy as a nemesis of the church who violated the twins' divine design. What became of Tomas? By the time the revolt had set Inazate ablaze, Tomas Guerrero was already living a new life with his family far from the city. He was finally able to enjoy a peaceful life. The chaos and riots in his home city never reached the sleepy village where your friend and his wife had put down roots. Tomas dedicated himself wholeheartedly to his family and his household. For the rest of his life, your old friend remembered you fondly. He was always grateful for what you had done for him. He named his firstborn son, Davvon Jr. Guerrero. What became of Octavia? That being that was once Octavia Melanides departed from this world forever without a trace. It was as though neither the beautiful young Arcanian lady nor the enigmatic being she became ever existed. All the knowledge of the lottery was lost forever, along with the legacy of Octavia Melanides. What became of Sophia? Ever since she was young, Sophia had been the living embodiment of hatred, the spawn of every hideous injustice committed in the Empire. She had all she needed to wage a bloodthirsty campaign against the entire Empire and eradicate every living thing in her path, had she prevailed. But Sophia's best laid plans came to naught following a heroic act at the city gate. By the Overseer's order, the main instigator of the rebellion was hanged in the main square of Manazon. No execution before or since has amassed such a crowd. Sophia's last words were a furious, desperate wail. War! War to the end! But the mob only booed and whistled at her, mocking her and her legacy. Some still remember Sophia as a woman who fought fiercely for the good of the common folk, but many more view her as a vicious murderer who was prevented from destroying the entire empire. What became of the Brante family? Thanks to your efforts, the Brante family escaped Anazat with their lives just before the rebellion reached its apex. The Brantes hurried back to the city as soon as they heard the news that the rebellion had been suppressed. No one barred them entry. After all, they never sided with the insurgents. But the family estate back in Anazat had already been burned to the ground by a rioting mob. They managed to find temporary shelter and are now working hard to rebuild the family home and return to their old lives. What became of Robert Brante? Your father lost his status, his career, and his home. The rebellion destroyed Robert Brante's life and gave him nothing in return. When the world changed, your father found himself unable to adapt and find a new place in it. He had no choice but to abandon his ambitions and live in obscurity. His family was all he had left, so he dedicated himself to caring for its well-being. What became of Lydia Brante? Lydia Brante always believed in the ways of the Empire and the Old Faith. It was this very faith that helped her survive every trial the family had faced during those fateful days. When it was finally over, Lydia lived to a ripe old age in peace and quiet with Robert, her faithful husband. For the rest of her days, your mother took pride in her son's great deeds during the suppression of the revolt. When the time came, Lydia departed to the twins' final judgment without fear. What became of Stefan Brante? Stefan never accepted the new order you were fighting for. But after you struggled selflessly for the good of the city, even he could recognize your commitment and dedication. You were never able to see eye to eye again, but when you parted ways, you were not enemies. You were still brothers. In a bid to restore law and order in his home city, Stefan attempted to join Gaius Tempest's forces. Your elder brother, the unrest and riots were an opportunity to convert his lifelong ambitions into honor and status for his family. At that time, however, the Brante name had been tainted by the revolt. Stefan's request was refused by the overseer himself, who told him to get out of his sight. Still determined to set right all the things that had gone wrong for him, Stefan left for Eterna, hoping to make his way in the world through loyal service in the Emperor's own court. The news of the Brante's family disgrace made its way to the capital before Stefan arrived. As his desperation grew, Stefan began dueling anyone who disparaged the Brante name. It was in one of these duels that your elder brother met his final death. What became of Gloria? Gloria didn't take the failure of the revolt well. Unbeknownst to the rest of the family, she continued to aid what remained of the rebellion. Your sister dedicated herself to stoking the simmering coals of unrest in the city, uniting the rebellion's disparate remnants. Every poem and pamphlet she wrote quickly spread throughout Manazon, but in the end, she was robbed of her chance to see the fruits of her labor. The secret chancellery eventually caught wind of the rebellious poet. Gloria was snatched off the street and sent to the imperial dungeon. She was never seen again. Her poetry, however, continued to roam free, inspiring the common folk to fight for their freedom. What became of Nathan Brant? Dazed by the changes brought by the rebellion, Nathan Brant found himself completely lost in the world around him. As the burden of his past sins grew more and more unbearable, he retreated into his own mind until not even his own family could reach him. In the air, his despair drove him away from the family home. He roamed Magra as a vagabond, devoid of all purpose. Nathan wantonly squandered the rest of his lives one by one in meaningless fights. He died his true death in a drunken brawl in a filthy roadhouse somewhere on the outskirts of Magra. So this family ended there. What became of Gregor Brant? Not even in the afterlife did Gregor Brant see the realization of his great dream. His descendants failed to have the Brant name ennobled by the sword. The Brant bloodline was denied its chance to become one of the Empire's most eminent dynasties. The blood tide ushered in by Gregor Brant would never have another chance at immortality. Nobody cares, Gregor. Get the hell out of here. You suck. What became of you? You sacrificed your life in the cause of the revolt to spare your home city from an inevitable massacre. The city of Manazon will remember your name forever. Some call you a hero, the man who put an end to bloodshed and saved the city. Others curse you as the vilest of all traitors, a lone turncoat who doomed the rebellion. Even in death, your name never received glory or fame. To the highest ranks of the Empire, you were just an insurgent, one of many, who sided with those in power at the last moment possible. It took many years for historians to realize the crucial role you played that fateful night. Had you not opened the gate to the Legion and forced the revolt to surrender, civil war would have swept across the Empire. In the end, it was thanks to you that Gaius Tempest managed to prevent bloodshed and begin his reforms. The Empire could have been plunged into slaughter, riots, and fire had you chosen a different path. So ends the life and suffering of Davvon Jr. Brant. True death. The hour of your death has come. Your soul has left your body, never to return. You are taken to the peak of the shining pillar. Every moment separates you more and more from the mortal realm. The link that once bound you to it is gone forever. You look up to see two divine visages watching you intently. The elder twin gazes upon you, full of sorrow and compassion. The younger examines you dispassionately, seeing your every act and thought. You have ascended from mortal realm. From here, you are but one step away from partaking in eternal bliss atop the peak of the shining pillar. But first, you must be judged by them, just as every other soul born in this world has been judged by them since time immemorable. Only their judgment can decide whether you deserve to remain atop the peak or be hurled down to the foot. You stand before the twins. Your very essence is laid bare before them. All secrets of your inner self revealed in full. Your soul is like an open book to them, one that preserves the story of your entire life. You lie prostrate before the gods. The time has come to take responsibility for your mortal life. And the elder twin asks, are you thankful to the gods for life you lived? I refuse to submit to them. They hear your answer. Compassion and remorse fill the immeasurably deep eyes of the elder twin. He turns to face his divine brother, who returns his gaze with the expression of stern remorse. The elder twin asks you once more, what was your life to you? Empathy. The elder twin bows his head wearily, considering your response. But the stern visage of the younger already looms above you. Human by the name of Brant, what did you live for? A cause. Change. The younger's gaze lingers on your bare, defenseless soul. The divine figure continues its stern interrogation. What did you leave behind? Change. The younger twin now moves toward you with clear intent, poised to render his judgment. But the elder twin restrains his brother with a gesture. Divine voice fills you once again. Did your life make the world we made better and more perfect? I think it did. The younger twin is silent, his eyes, two swords piercing your soul. The elder twin speaks to you again, but you already know the question, the very same question that caused so much suffering shortly before your true and final death. What determined your destiny? I did. The soul of a man named Brante lies prostrate at your feet. You have witnessed his entire life, known his every act, seen his every thought and desire. No other soul could ever walk the same path. So many difficult choices, so many emotions, so much pain. Another soul awaits your judgment. You know no mercy, nor does your brother. Every mortal must walk the path chosen for him to the very end. Those who abide by the precepts set forth by you and your brother shall return to you and become a part of you. Those who reject you shall know the eternal suffering of oblivion. Where does the man named Davvon Jr. Brante belong? The peak of the pillar. You gingerly grasp the fragile soul, lift it up, and turn to face your elder brother. You lift your sword. Your brother stands with arms akimbo, ready for the blow. The blade slices through his chest. Blinding light gushes from the gash. You bring the minuscule soul to your brother's chest, and it dissolves into the streams of shimmering luminescence. A tiny fragment of your shared creation has rejoined the whole. The man named Brante is no more. There is only eternal font in which he now abides. That is the end of our life. Life and suffering of Davvon Jr. Brante. Oh my god, my voice, my throat. Oh my gosh! That was a hell of a read-through, an amazing game. 9.2 out of 10. I will put this out there for those of you wondering why I chose the ending that I did. Let me say this first of all. After seeing the results, I do not completely regret it. But when I chose that, I thought it would come with a different handling of the ending. When I chose to stand up to Sophia and try to overtake, I thought it would be a moment in that score where I would try to turn the mob to my side, not try to open and let the legions in. I thought I was going to try to turn the mob to my side, not turn on the mob. So it was not my intent to turn on the revolt. But if it comes down to between letting the legion through or having wholesale slaughter of everybody and letting Sophia slaughter innocent people across the land with no remorse, I do not regret my decision, and it looks like things kind of, for the most part, turned out a little bit better. My biggest regret is that my family essentially died off. Nathan went down probably the worst path. Gloria is really depressing to me. Stefan, I kind of not surprised. It is what it is. There's nothing I can do about it, but I think that the sacrifice was worth the justification in the end, but I'm not 100% sure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about the ending. I don't think there's anything else after this, is there? Ever? Oh, credits. Is this credits? So I really enjoyed the game. I had moments where I got really frustrated with the game because, like, it's like most options. Like, if you play a game like, say, Until Dawn, or a game called like Man of Medan, where you have to make choices to a person, you say, I want to walk up these stairs. But then you walk up those stairs and it does something completely 180 from what you expected it to do. That the unknown of how you're going to handle the situation. I wish I had more description on how you were going to handle a situation. And I think that comes to Fog of War mode or whatever it was that I selected, where you don't get to see the repercussions of your actions. That might have been the biggest issue. Either way, I'm happy with the game. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below, what you thought of the playthrough. I will be ending for now this gameplay for channel purposes. I might come revisit this in the future if I don't have something to play at the time. But starting tonight or tomorrow, depending on what the release time is for Arkham Horror, I will be jumping right into that. I'm not sure if the game releases tonight at midnight or not, and I do work tonight at about 2 a.m. So the hope is that if it releases at midnight, I want to have at least a half hour to an hour of gameplay done, edited, and released before I leave for work. If not, then I will be back later tomorrow to play it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the playthrough. Everybody that made it this far, I truly, deeply, and greatly appreciate you sticking through it. It means a lot to me. If you guys want to do something, a massive favor to me, smash that like button, because it shows me that people actually enjoyed what I was doing, and it makes me feel good about myself, if I'm being 100% bluntly honest. As always, I appreciate y'all. You're all beautiful individuals. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Love y'all. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.